Oh, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Amen. With Pesach around the corner, we find ourselves early asking what makes this day different from all other days. It is Shabbat. It is our special day of keeping Kadosh before the Most High. And we have a little bit of an earlier start today. And, okay, seems like we're a little out of focus, maybe. Anyway, you don't have to see me that clearly. I'm not seeing myself so good. So again, we're thankful for you being with us today. And we're very grateful for this opportunity to come before you and to give you thanks. And we're just double checking that everything is good. The reason why it's different this Sabbath is because we are trying to follow we're a little out of focus there. I don't know how to change the focus. No. Okay. Anyway, I guess the closer you get to me, for better or for worse. So anyway, never mind the foolishness. We want to get down to what we used to call the nitty gritty. We're going through almost a complete shutdown of all ways of life. There's a virtual lockdown going on in New York, and the health crisis here with this virus floating around is apparently serious business. Okay, there are those who are insisting upon some sort of what's the word? Insisting that there's something the government's behind, the conspiracies. But I believe in playing it safe, since we have this method of communication. I noticed that we're not super clear today, but again, that's not super important. We will fix that somehow, and we'll be clearer. But we need to take all the precautions that we can. And my friend Shaliach, I heard him say that if this proves to be a hoax, if it proves to be something, we can have a laugh about it, later on down the road, or saying, well, maybe this, maybe that, we should have, whatever. But for the time being, we are to take this very seriously. And as shepherds, we need to make sure that the flock is safe indoors, safe at home. We're not getting any baseball action right now, but we can all be safe at home. Okay, safe at home. So please take the precautions that you need to take. Touching of the face, the washing of the hands. These are all things that were very much biblical. Who may ascend unto the hill? Those who have a clean heart and clean hands. Okay, so in fact, it was one of the problems with that was perceived within the Jewish communities over the years, because the Jewish people have always washed their hands. The laver was part of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and then ultimately part of the temple. The washing of the hands and of the feet were essential to everyday life. Okay, we're getting our first call for who? Who is it, Regina?
It's Pat.
Okay, tell her to click on that circle.
Click on that circle, he said.
And don't hang up yet. Make sure she does it right. Click on the circle, and then you'll get right to us. So anyway, so we're a little frazzled, but we're always dazzled by the presence of the Most High, who loves us and wants to preserve our lives, wants us to be smart, wants us to keep well, to keep. He that keepeth Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. And again, the word shamar is one of the words I really would love you all to know thoroughly and clearly. Yeah. Is she good?
Okay.
Is she good?
Yeah, she's good.
All right. We are all there. We're all there. So I just pray that we all are patient with each other. Those who are saying, well, you should be more trusting. You should be gathering in bigger numbers, and you should be showing the devil the door. And yeah, okay. That's okay. I can, later on down the road, if that proves to be false, I can say, look, maybe I should have. But in the meantime, I don't want to be saying in a couple of months I should have listened to you, Father, because we've lost some folk, and we have to be smart. We got to be smart. It's a little tzeitel, little wisdom, a little chokmah. We need to be faithful and willing to maneuver within the days, even as Shaliach Shaul, the Apostle Paul, did. He was able to get along with all different cultured people, right? He was able to exchange literary quotations with those of the Grecian culture as well as with the rabbinic culture. He knew all that stuff. Being from Tarsus, being a Roman citizen, he was able to pretty much have a conversation with anybody. And so we need to be like that, sort of chameleon-like, and able to deal with things. So anyway, what I'd like to do, and because I am solo with my lovely wife Regina over here, we are holding court here without our brethren. So you'll be seeing me and hearing me. And again, I apologize if I'm not super clear, but that might be part of your blessing today also. So I'm praying that what we share, the collective we share today, will benefit you. I'm going to do two separate messages because time is fleeting, and we need to get these teachings down with regards to pre-Pesach preparations. Okay, and last week I talked about the importance of the approach of the new year. Okay, with the new year, and if you go back to this is 18. Let me do it. 5, 10, 15, 18 today. In episode 17, if you go fast forward 2 hours and 19 minutes, yes, I'm pretty long-winded. You'll see the teachings based upon Enoch and based upon the word recorded in the book of Jubilees about the calendar, about the year is 364 days, 52 weeks exactly. Not to go over that, otherwise there's a fiat, a caveat rather, not a fiat, but a caveat, a warning against adapting the calendar of the pagans and missing the Moedim, the appointed times, the feasts of the eternal Yahuwah. So we want to make sure that we're getting this right. And last year, Pesach was, as it always should be, on a Tuesday, and that's coming up in less than 2 weeks. And so what I want to say is, so the first of the year, last year, as always, should begin on a Wednesday, the fourth day of the week. And the last day, 364 days later, the last day is Tuesday. And we are not to add or subtract, which is an important thing to remember. Do not add, do not subtract. The recipe is just fine. A little sprinkle of garlic powder might not hurt, but keep the recipe, keep to the recipe, keep to the faithful word, which has been once delivered. And we should contend for the faith that's been once delivered. And it's based upon the word. Faith comes from hearing, and hearing is the word. So we need to be faithful in our response to the word and to the timing of things. Yes, if we have a sincere heart, the eternal Yah will hear us. In the Pesach on the wrong day, possibly fine. And also, just because we do it by the book, so to speak, or the way that we're doing it here, doesn't mean that you get a free ticket to bypass any tsuras or troubles. Because again, the evil can do this. Evil people can do things by rote. So it all comes from the inner being, the inner heart, the mind. The mind. We have to be convinced in our hearts and in our minds, in our thinking. Our thinking has to be released and given to the obedience of Messiah, who is the head, who does the thinking for the body. And we are the body of Messiah. So we need to be faithful to our calling and to our Mashiach, who is the author and finisher of this faith, of this trust, of this goodness, Abba. So we give him thanks. And so I'm going to be going into that, into various readings. But again, as I generally do with our introductions here, I just want to again remind everybody that again, if you would please take the time to subscribe. Please subscribe. Let us know. We want to go forward with some additional teachings during the week eventually and do additional things beyond Shabbat. So we want to be able to notify people what we're doing and have the encouragement and support to oh, that sounds like a good idea. Go right ahead and do it. And we'll give you contact information later on. In between the two messages, we will have our contact information made available. But in the meantime, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Give us a little note. Give us a little indication. Okay, there's another phone call. Somebody else is in need of directions. Okay, Regina is dealing with a phone call right now. I might be answering some questions in a second, so bear with me. And again, we go back to Shemot, the book of Exodus 31:13, sort of a palindrome, 3113. Who's that, Regina?
It was Cassie. She just wanted to know how we were doing.
Oh,
She said she'll call us later.
okay. Cassie's on the phone. Okay, and Moshe is hears the voice of the eternal Yah say, "Speak to the Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, and the adults, saying, above all my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign." And Sabbath is Shabbatot, the weekly Sabbath plus the 7 annual Sabbaths. And we're approaching the day after Pesach. The 15th of Aviv is the first day of unleavened breads, plural. And at the 7th day is also a Sabbath, a Shabbat. And then counting from the day of first fruits, we count off 7 Shabbatot. And the day after the 7th Sabbath, Yom Rashon, the first day of the week, is also a Shabbat, which is called Shavuot. Okay, so we have 3 additional Shabbats happening this spring. Okay, so above all my Shabbatot you shall keep, for it, the concept of the it is the Shabbat, is the ceasing and the rest in that ceasing. We stop, like the musical note to the stop note is to pause and stop. Okay, above all my Shabbatot you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. It is an oath. It is an indicator. It is a flag. It's what we have between us. It's a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that it is I am Yahuwah. I am the eternal Yah who sanctifies you. And he blessed the Shabbat day and he made it kadosh. He made it holy. He made it separate from the other 6 days. And in the Devarim, in the 10 Commandments, is remember to keep it that way. Remember to keep it kadosh. Our lifestyle needs to reflect that. We need to stop from foolishness, stop the games, and be kadosh, be holy. And on the 7th day, the sign of the continuous action, it propels us forward for the rest of our lives, not just for the rest of the week, but it's an important idea to get across and to understand fully Shabbat. And that's what we've been attempting to do these 18th Shabbat teachings, is to remember to guard the Shabbat day as kadosh, as holy, as distinct, as pure, and as an indicator of who we are and how we should be conducting ourselves. Amen. So we're going to have the Torah blessings now before we continue, and then I'm going to continue with my teaching on the Rosh Hashanah, the true Rosh Hashanah. It doesn't take place at the end of the 6th month, the first day of the 7th month. That is Yom Teruah, the day of the awakening blast. So I have my big strong wife holding on for the Torah blessings, okay? Amen. Hallelujah. When the ark would travel, Moshe would say, arise, O eternal Yah, and let your enemies be scattered. Let them that hate you flee from before you. Okay, let me get my Siddur out of the way here. Arise, O eternal Yah, let your enemies be scattered. Let them that hate you flee from you. For from Zion shall go forth Torah, and the word of the eternal Yah from Jerusalem. And blessed be he who in his holiness gave Torah to his people Israel. Ki mitzion de Torah udvar Adonai Yahuwah meYerushalayim. Amen. Amen. Baruchu et Yahuwah HaMevorach. Baruchu Yahuwah HaMevorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Yahuwah Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachabanu michol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Yahuwah noten haTorah. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Bless the Eternal, the Blessed One. Bless the Eternal, the Blessed One for all eternity. Blessed are you, O Eternal, Yah, our Elohim, Melech HaOlam, Sovereign of infinity, who has chosen us from all peoples, and you have given us his Torah. Blessed are you, O Eternal Yah, the giver of the Torah. And again, there is the way of give, and there's the way of get. And the way of get is the philosophy of the world. The way of give is the way of the Eternal Yah, our Elohim, Eloheinu. And he gives the Torah. This is not a subject, an object of worship. The Torah is the words of instruction, and he gave it to us. He wrote it with his finger on Mitzion, right? So let us give thanks to the Torah, to the giver of Torah, the one who gives us and continues to give us throughout our lives. We are the recipients of many, many great things. And just as Messiah had healed the lepers, only one of them came back and gave him thanks. He's given us Torah. Have you given him thanks for Torah? Have you given him thanks? Reminder of how good he is to us. He is wonderfully good, and he is never failing and always leading the procession of life, leading the procession of truth and virtue and moving forward. So let us give thanks. Todah Rabbah. And now we will continue with presentation number 1. And as I said, the first part of the presentation I made last week when I actually read from Jubilees. And it clearly states that we do not go beyond 52 weeks. There were those that say, well, wait, we got to wait for the equinox, the day after the equinox, or the first Wednesday after the equinox. Yes, but we're adding to days. Now each month has originally been given 30 days, but each of the 4 seasons, each grouping of 3 months has been given a special intercalary day. So the first month, the 7th, the first month, or each of the 4 groupings has an additional day. So it comes out to 364 days. And so this is the beginning. This week was the beginning of the first week, because the 52nd week concluded on Tuesday, because remember, it began on a Wednesday last year. Wednesday to Tuesday, 364 days later, ended. Now we could say, well, it should be after the equinox, and so we'll have it next Wednesday. But when we do that, we make the year 371 days and 53 weeks. So that's it. And a lot of the people who are keeping the biblical calendar, according to the Zadokites, are cleaving to these books of Enoch and Jubilees, and yet they don't see this. But that's typical of religious folk. And I shouldn't say it in a harsh way, because we're all trying. I'm new at this game, believe me. I'm still trying. One thing is, we need to be teachable, okay? We need to be teachable. Can this change during the course of the year? Could it? Could our opinions change? Could we learn some more information that will guide us into the ways of truth that are more accurate? It's possible. I don't really see that happening, because we are holding on to truth, and we need not be frustrated by falsehood and by things that dilute, and especially with the leavening factor that I'll be speaking about later. The little things can come in and contaminate the whole batch. So anyway, the portions that I read from are in Jubilees chapter 6, 28 to 38, and in the book of Enoch, chapter 72, chapter 74, and chapter 75. Each of them talk about 364 days. The four seasonal markers of those intercalary days. Seasonal markers. This is Aviv now. So anyway, that is my contention. Why this week and not next week? Okay? It's a completion of 52 weeks. A completion of 364 days have taken place this Tuesday. And Wednesday was the beginning. And it was the closest Wednesday or fourth day of the week to the equinox. Next week would be in a whole additional week. So again, we want to be closer to 364 than 371. And that whole treatise presented in Jubilees tells us why it's important to keep that. I'm not going to repeat myself. Like I said, our 17th program, which in 2 hours and 19 minutes in, I go and I read from this portion, okay? So anyway, I'm going to go into this portion. And Shana Tovah, this is a good year, a good year. And the Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year, the beginning, the first of the year, the new year. Shana Tovah. So I wish that to you all. So I'm going to continue. And remember, Leviticus 23, verse 4 says we are to proclaim the Moedim, the appointed times, the feasts, at their appointed time. So the closer we get to knowing what the Zadokite priesthood did 2 millennia ago, that Mashiach would have been aware of, that the Talmudim would have been aware of, the apostles would have been aware of, the better, right? We want to make sure we're closest as we can to the truth, rather than basing our faith on Constantine in the 4th century. Not a good idea to start there. Not a good idea to start in the place where we're corrupted and hijacked. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to start with Exodus, Shemot, chapter 12, verse 2. Okay. HaChodesh Hazeh Chodesh. Okay, this month, Lachem, for you, Rosh, which is Resh, Aleph, and Shin. For you is the first of Hadashim. This month for you is the first of months. Rishon, who, the first who, Lechem, for you, Lechadshe, okay, Hashanah. It's the first month for you, the first of months, and it is Roshan. Yom Rashon, we say that, referring to the day of the sun, okay? All the days in our week are all named after pagan deities. So we prefer to use, obviously, Shabbat instead of referring it to as Saturn Day, because we honor the deities connected with Saturn, as I spoke a couple of weeks ago, with regards to the quote-unquote Magen David being that hexagram, which is on the North Pole of Saturn, this hexagram shape. Anyway, that's another time. Okay, Rashon. So again, that's part of the Rosh. So again, we see the Rosh, and to the first of the months of the year. So this is the true Rosh Hashanah. This is the true head of the year. This is the true Chodesh. We have Chodeshim during the course of the year, but this is the one that is specifically celebrated and understood as being the Rosh, the head of the months, the head of the year, Chodeshim. Okay, Rosh Chodeshim, the head of the months, the beginnings. And again, the word Resh and the Rosh and the Rishon all go back to the one. We see in the beginning of our scriptures, Genesis 1:1, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, the word beginning, again, those three words, but in Resh, Aleph, Shin. And then in the head, at the head of the beginning of beginnings, okay? That's Bereshit 1:1. And of course, Yochanan, the first chapter, the book Gospel of John, says in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim, and all things were made through him. And without him, nothing was made that was made. Nothing was made that was made without him. So this isn't just some teacher, somebody itinerant preacher walking through the land and putting his hat on the ground, saying a few words, throw a couple of shekels in the hat. This is Elohim. This is the divine logos, the divine devar, who has made all things. He wasn't so much the carpenter's son as he was the creator of all, his son, and he was the agent of creation. He was the craftsman at the side of Ha'av, of the Father. So now, why the fourth day? On the fourth day, the perceivable passage of time and seasons begins when the benchmarks and indicators are created and established and put to work to serve and advise us of specific measured out time arrivals and departures. Okay? Bereshit 1 verse 14 says, and Elohim said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens and separate the day and the night, and let there be as signs. The word there again is ot. It's a sign between me and you throughout your generations. We just read that from the Shemot. Okay? So the sign, though the root of that word is to come in the sense of appearing. So a sign appears, it stands, it's referred to definition-wise as a signal or a flag or a monument. It is a significant benchmark at the very least. Okay, let them be for signs and for seasons. The word is moedim. A moed is singular, moedim is plural. I hear people saying, I like the moedims of the Lord, and it's moedim is plural. It's the appointed time, and it's a fixed time. It also is a signal. It is also an indicator, a fixed time. It doesn't move. It doesn't move from year to year. It always is. Shabbat is always the seventh day. Pesach always falls on a Tuesday, and so on and so forth. Okay? For seasons and for days and years. U le yamim ve-shanim. The days and years. And then the greater light and the lesser light. The greater light is the sun, the lesser light is the moon. And a lot of people are determining their calendars by the lunar calendar. And the Book of Jubilees warns against that also. The lunar calendar only goes so far. It eventually will mess you up. Okay? So, interestingly enough, the word, as I've said before in previous teachings, that the word for the sun is the same word that we get for servant. So he's the greater light, and yet he's the servant of all. He's the servant of all our solar system. He's the servant, but he's the great light. And it's from him that we gain our illumination. You see a beautiful sunny day. I see the sun over there somewhere, and in my window. Okay. For days and years, the greater light is the servant, and just as we see the menorah, the center, the fourth candle, is the one that is the servant, is the one from whom we get illumination. Okay? Now, the fourth day is always the day on which the new year arrives. The previous days, between 1 and 3, provide the setting and the scenario, while at the same time creating an inhabitable environment conducive to life forms. Nefeshim. Remember, nefesh is not some eternal, which is according to the teachings of Plato, not the teachings of Moshe or Yeshua. The soul, what did I just say? Nefesh. The nefesh. Keep on top of me, okay? I should have a little buzzer going off if I say something wrong. So the nefesh is the life, breathing, living, breathing. You know, the Father breathed into our nostrils, and we became a living nefesh. We live, we move, and we have our being through his intervention, creating us ex nihilo, out of nothing. Well, out of the dust which he created out of nothing, out of the four corners of the earth. Adam from Adamah, Adam from the earth. And the word dam is in there also, which is blood. The life is in the blood. So here we have a portable little teaching within that, okay? So again, the first 3 days create this environment, and then the fifth and sixth day provide the life to take root and to thrive under the conditions of a beautiful planet created to nourish and support these various creatures, both in the water and in the air and in the land. And interesting to know is in the Near East, New Year's festivals normally, if not always, coincide with the new season of life in nature at the start of the agricultural cycle. Aviv, this is the beginning. This makes more sense as a New Year, doesn't it? In the middle of the end of December, beginning of January. And again, all the calendar names are all based on pagans and pagan rulers. And in fact, September, October, November, December, or should be 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, and 10 instead of 9, 10, 11, 12, because Sept is 7, where it's the 9th month. So it's all messed up. Let me throw a couple of Caesars in there also. Julius and Augustus and Janus, the two-faced deity, is January, so on and so forth. So we're going to see that coming into play in a little bit here. So Genesis 18, verse 14 is a beautiful little touch in the story of Avram and Sarah. The Malach of Yahuwah assures Abraham, and the Malach is the angel of Yahuwah, of the eternal Yah, assures Abraham and Sarah that their long-awaited son would be born to give them laughter, Yitzchak. At the appointed time, I will return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. So again, this I will return to you at the appointed time. And what is that word? La moed, at the appointed time. Okay, so this is a moed. Ashuv, I will return. Here we have the word shuv, which is to return. When we repent, we return to our Father. We turn away from that which would so easily ensnare us. And there's a lot of people who are saying, gee, I wish I wasn't so addicted to this thing. I wish I could. Well, start by turning away from it. Start by turning away from it in the opposite direction of it, whatever it is, and whatever it might still be nipping at your heels. Turn away from it. And when you turn away from the sin that tempts us, we find ourselves facing the eternal Yah, our forgiver and our deliverer. He's the one who takes care of that, right? That's his job. To destroy the works of the adversary and to fulfill the work of the Father, okay? So, again, Shuv, Elecha, I will return to you, Ka'at, at the time, Chaya, which is the time of life, which is understood as the time of spring. The time of spring, the beautiful time of life coming back. The birds are singing, the trees are showing signs of green. The Aviv is often referred to as the first initial harvest of Yisrael, which we offer in the first fruits. Okay, this designation of Exodus 12:2 about the beginning of our years reminds Israel that her life as the people of Elohim was and is grounded in the redemptive act provided uniquely by Elohim in the Exodus. Aviv is derived from the Canaanite word, which is appropriate because it is within Canaan that the Eternal will place his name, and it is a land of promise and newness. Aviv, the root of that word, is to be tender, to be green, young, like the ear of corn. The barley harvest begins, breaks the surface. The Aviv, and a lot of people, that's another sign that people look for. They look for the new moon. They look for the barley. Yeah, these, the barley is an important element, but according to the scriptures, when Israel is being disobedient, some of these natural blessings are withheld. So we can't always depend on looking for the barley, although the greenery is self-evident all around. I go to the book of Devarim, chapter 16, verse 1. Chapter 16, verse 1 of Devarim, Deuteronomy. Shamor, and again, this is a variant of Shamar, which is to observe, to guard, to keep, and to observe. Okay? Shamar et, observe what? Chodesh ha'aviv, observe the month of Aviv, and keep, and this is not Shomer, this word is va'asita, which is to celebrate. Observe the month of Aviv and celebrate the Pesach unto Yahuwah, thy Elohim. For in the month of Aviv, the eternal Yah, thy Elohim, brought you out of Egypt by night. Okay? You shall therefore sacrifice the Pesach to Yahuwah thy Elohim of your flock and thy herd, in the place which Yahuwah shall choose to place his name there. There, this unique place, which is, of course, Yerushalayim. And again, the word for Aviv is also in Exodus 13:4, 23:15, and 34:18, and all make the essential connection between Aviv, the Pesach, the Feast of Unleavened Breads, and the Exodus, the story of the Exodus. They are inseparable. Now, the Babylonian name for the first month is Nisan, and the Babylonian influence upon Israel is staggering. And in the captivity, the 70-year captivity, in which they were locked away in the land of Babylon, a lot of them started adapting to the ways of the Babylonians and started naming the various months after pagan deities of Babylon. They even have a month called Tammuz. So I don't look at the names of the quote-unquote Jewish months, but rather the number of the months, because they are numbered, as are the days. You have Yom Rashon, you have the numbers, and then the seventh day is Shabbat. We don't give them specific names, because you look at the names of the week, the names of the months, they're all derived from pagan influences. So we need to make a break clear. And yeah, I know next Tuesday we're gonna get together the third day of the week. Guess it was this. Okay, so that would be Tuesday. So I mean, we do our best. It's not easy. But again, the Babylonian influence, when people talk about the month of Nisan, they're basically, it's just like saying instead of the land of Israel, they're calling it Palestine. And I've seen maps of Palestine at the time of Christ, and there was no Palestine at the time of Christ. Palestine was a variant of the word that was given by the Romans, which was passed down. It's a variation of the Philistines and has nothing to do with the Bible. There is no Palestine. Before Israel, it was Canaan. It was Canaan. After Israel, after they were cursed and banished from the land, they adapted a new pagan reference for it, but they were ultimately dealt with. So anyway, the Babylonian name for the first month is Nisan, and it was used much later after the captivity, okay? So I'm going to look at two references in Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 1, and the book of Esther 3:7. I'm going to go to Esther first. In the book of Esther, the story of Hadassah, Haman, who's the bad guy, you got to have your grog on when you hear Haman's name and shout and boo him. Haman's plot to destroy the Jews began with a roll of the dice, the Purim, in Nisan. So again, Nisan, the paganized first month, the fact that we're calling it Nisan, the fact that we're adapting to the ways of the Persians, adapting to the ways of the Babylonians. We're in captivity, but we're getting a little comfortable, a little too comfortable, a little too free with the jargon, as we are today in the society that we live in. We think that we can use terms and holidays and teachings and foolishness, and it's okay if we devote it to the Lord. No, it's not. Deuteronomy 12. Go back there, guys and gals. So anyway, it begins with Nisan, and but his plot crashes and burns in the 12th month. So that whole year, the Jews in Persia were fearful of this judgment of the evil Haman. So when that came to no effect, in fact, it crashed in on him and burned him. The 12th month, this assured the Jewish people in the land of a very happy new year. We're going to be living, and Aviv now represents the time of life. And what better than to understand that in the most literal sense? You will get to live to see Aviv. That's a nice promise. Okay, and again, Numbers 33 verse 3. And they departed from Ramesses in the first month on the first day of the first month. And the 15th day, as you know, is the first day of Yom of Hag Hamatzot, the feast of the unleavened breads, the matzot, matzah plural. Okay, so it's, you look in the Hebrew, the word is matzot. We want to make it unleavened bread because we tend to think of matzah, we think of Jews. We don't want to be Jews. We want to be, good European Christians. whatever. So it's Hag HaMatzot. It's the feast of the unleavened breads. Um, First day, on the day after the Pesach, the children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. So they neither went secretly nor quietly, but boldly and clearly unleavened, no leaven in them, as they emerged from their captivity. So when we emerged from the Babylonian captivity, we should have left all that stuff behind us rather than bringing with it a lot of baggage, and a lot of the great rabbis, a lot of the great teachings. The Talmud, for crying out loud, is the Babylonian Talmud. You know, can anything good come from Babylon? You know, if you want to babble, babble along. Okay, so when it came time to leave, it was done openly. Just like when Messiah comes back from us, no secret in rapture. Psst, keep it under your hat. He's going to come for us secretly. No, he says, he doesn't. It's never called a secret rapture. It's open. It's the whole world was going to see this. Just like when Israel left Egypt, they did it with very openly, very openly. I'm going to go to the book of Nehemiah now, Nehemiah, and again the word Nisan is here as well. So the words of Nehemiah, the son of Hachaliah, and it came to pass in the month Cheslev, which again is the 9th month. Cheslev, the 9th month. Again, Cheslev is now called Cheslev because they are in a land of captivity. Okay, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan, the palace, and Shushan is also in the story of Esther as well. That Hanani, one of my brethren, came, he and certain men of Yehuda, and I asked them concerning the Jews that had escaped, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. And they said to me, the remnant that are left in captivity, there in the province, are in great affliction and reproach. Just like with Hadassah, there was this shadow over them of danger, causing reproach and causing fear. The wall of Jerusalem also is broken down, and the gates thereof are burned with fire. And it came to pass when I heard these words that I sat down and wept and mourned certain days and fasted and prayed before the Elohim of heaven. Okay, so this is in the 9th month, right? And now, chapter 2, verse 1, he's mourning, he's weeping, he's hearing bad news, nothing is happening. People are not, been revived and are not willing or able to do the work that needs to be done. Came to pass in the month of Nisan. Okay, now back to the first year. It took 4 months to get the ball rolling, but Nehemiah, who had the king's blessings, the king showed him great favor, and they saw that he was upset. He said, well, "What's going on, guy? You're my boy. I want you to be well. I want you to be happy." And so Nehemiah wasn't just a depressed lad. So he's normally of Yehudim, which are joyful and praisers. So here he's looking depressed. What's going on? So it took 4 months to get the ball rolling. And again, number 4 is very significant in understanding the scriptures. 4 days the lambs were observed from the 10th of Aviv to Pesach. When Messiah came into Jerusalem on that very same 10th day, he was evaluated and questioned, and for 4 days he was observed and watching him over, making sure there was no blemishes or anything. So the 4 months to get the ball rolling, he had the favor, and the king sent Nehemiah and to the land and got the ball rolling, and Jerusalem was rebuilt as a result of that. So again, the weeping. You remember always Psalm 30, verse 5 in your life. Always remember this. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy, simcha, will come in the morning. Will always come in the morning. So Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. The Shanah, the word, as I've said this in a previous teaching, but I'll recap a little bit. Shanah means the second, the duplicate, the repeating. The root is to fold, which implies the duplication. Fold it in half, 2 sides. Okay, the duplication And in nature, the universal constant of 4 seasons form a repeatable cycle of change, beginning at spring, the time of life, which stubbornly reclaims life from the jaws of the death of winter. Winter is a sign of death. There's nothing growing. Those who survive through the winter are the hardy ones, right? They're hardy. They endure. They're able to adapt. They're able to, the animals, they either hibernate, saying, hey, guys, it's getting a little chilly. I'm taking a nap. You guys can hang out here, but I'm going to take a nap. Wake me up in the spring, okay? Others, you see these wonderful deer that their hooves are able to dig through the snow, and then they can find the remaining greenery there, and they're able to survive. Some even adapt new cloak. There's certain rabbits, there's certain foxes. The Arctic fox, in fact, turns white in the winter, so he's invisible, like a ghost in the snow. Okay? So life refuses to give in to death, and in fact, will be always victorious when Yahweh is involved in this process. So, and the cycle also reflects our natural existence. Repetition can be more of the same tired pattern, offering little hope for personal change. And that lasts beyond the cycle, not just the change for now, for today, which is, again, why people misunderstand what Shabbat means. It's not just a day of rest. Okay, sundown, let's go nuts, Shabbat sets in order, every week sets in order the opportunity. It's the one mandated day in the scriptures to hear the word. It's the one mandated day. Even as Shaul was preaching the word to the Gentiles, which were referred to as proselytes at the gate. They didn't come physical Jews, but they were in these synagogues hearing the word. And Yaakov gave the decision that we shouldn't burden the Gentiles who were coming into the picture, but that they need to perform actually 4 ritual signals of cleanness and kashrut, that they're accepted, that they're taking this seriously. This is not some pagan masquerade to gain access to the holy things of Yahweh like a Trojan horse, but that they are actually sincere and they desire to do the best they can to pursue the ways. And the point is that these cleanliness laws need to be observed. And then after all, Moshe, meaning the Torah, is preached everywhere. So in other words, they will hear and steadily learn and steadily on the Shabbat. So again, the Gentiles will learn of Elohim on the Shabbat from the Torah. So again, Acts 15. Read it. Okay. Let me go through my little notes here. The other thing with Shanah is it can also mean change. So it can mean the same old. It can also mean the new. It could be a complete change. And you begin your own cycle. You begin a new cycle. And depends on how many wheels you want to ride on. You got your motorcycle, you got your bicycle with your training wheels. Time to get those training wheels off and start rolling. Make a change. It begins with us. A lot of people have this lazy, passive concept of the biblical faith that you come to knock. I stand at the door and knock very timidly. Messiah's knocking at the door and says, hey, I hope that you're ready to play host to me. To have him at the door means that we got to be, we got to make sure that the house is worthy of the inspection, because our homes are inspected. We're going to see this later on with the leaven, that our homes cannot have any leaven, not just our kitchens, but our homes cannot have leaven. And again, it's not just a case of baking with yeast or not. Leaven is much more than that. Okay, so anyway, Revelations 21:5, which I've said before, behold, I make all things new. We can be made new and resistant to the natural pull of the old, which are reminders of the past with its carnal markers. Well, you used to do this. Why don't you do this anymore? What's wrong with you? So Shanah also means to to transmute, to double, to give oneself to change, or to repeat, return, to do the second time. So again, we have the first time, which was a failure, the second time, which is the new life, the new opportunity for pursuing the second Adam, so to speak, as opposed to the first, which was failure. So his perfect will for you is that you don't mindlessly waste your time in fruitless repetition of the old, of failure, of sin, but to redeem the time in newness and times of refreshing. And again, the Chodesh, the month, we're going to see something interesting about that word. We have entered a brand new covenant, a Brit Chadashah. Chadash is new, but it's also fresh. And I've said this before, it's newer and fresher today than it has ever been. It doesn't age. It doesn't age. I will not see my blessed, my anointed, my special ones to see decay. It won't happen. They're going to stay fresh. Stay fresh. Okay? Better than Tupperware. We will stay fresh. Okay? Newer today than ever before. So again, the Rosh Chodesh, a new month, a fresh start, a new clean page that's never been seen before. It's brand new. It's never been used. It's not secondhand. It is brand new. Chodesh, the first of all months. And believe me, it has nothing to do with the moon. It doesn't. Nothing to do with the moon. And the word Chadash and Chodesh have the same letters. We only have different vowel points which were added to help us along, but it's the same three letters. Okay? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Daled, He, Vav, Zayin. Okay? So it is the same three letters that have both words. So the month is new, and Chadash is to be new, to repair, to rebuild. It's also a fresh new thing. In Solomon, Melech Shlomo, in the Song of Songs, chapter 2, verse 10 to 13, it says, "Beloved, my beloved spoke and said to me, Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of singing has come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land. The fig tree puts forth her green figs." Remember that. The fig tree, green figs. Okay, remember that. Put that aside for a moment. "And the vines with tender grapes." Again, the grapes. Good sign. "And the vine with tender grapes give a good smell. They're ripe for the picking. Rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away." Now we look at this love poem of Shlomo, and we can insert Messiah into as the beloved, and he calls for us to rise up to a new life. Rise up. That which is winter is past is now is new opportunities, and a new opportunity to experience the fullness of life. So the grapes and the figs are faithful reminders. It calls us to rise up to new life, and the faithful reminders. Remember, many times we're told to zachor, to remember, to recall, to consider. And that again, it involves involvement. It involves your participation, to recall, to recollect the goodness of the Most High, to not fail Him. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 4. 1 Kings chapter 4. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 25. It says, "And Yehuda and Yisrael dwelt safely, each man under his vine and his fig tree, from Dan to Beersheba, all the days of Shlomo," all the days of Solomon. Sounds like perfect conditions. So the idea of having your own vineyard and having your own fig tree is a sign of success, is a sign of status, if you will. It's a sign of prosperity. Obviously, this isn't, we're not talking about gold and all excessive lands and whatever. No, he's sitting, dwelling in safety under his vine and his fig tree. Also needs a little vine and fig tree to give him a little shade from the sun and have food and drink in abundance. Luke, the chapter 13, verses 6 to 9. Messiah spoke this parable. And again, that's Luke 13, starting with verse 6. He spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard. Okay. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard. So here we have the place where the grapes are, and the fig tree is planted among the grapes. So here it sounds like the scenario that we just read in First Kings, right? And he came seeking fruit on it and found none. Then he said to the keeper of the vineyard, "Look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree and find none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground?" But he answered and said to him, "Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and fertilize it, give it every opportunity to succeed. Give it every opportunity to succeed. But if not, after that, you can cut it down." So the keeper obviously has much influence over his master. Hey, don't cut it down. Well, who are you talking to me? You talking to me? You know? So this keeper is saying, give it another chance. And again, a lot of people look at this, the 3 years, symbolic of Messiah's earthly ministry. We don't have a specific mention of the exact time of his duration in his ministry. That could perhaps be one indication. Now I'm going to go to the book of Mark, chapter 11. Mark 11. And there's 2 sections I'm going to read and then refer to what's in between. Chapter 11, I'm going to start with verse 12 to 14. Then I'm going to skip 15 to 19 and go back and read 20 to 22. Now the next day, when they had come out from Bethania, he was hungry. He desired the fruit, the early fruit, which is evidence of repentance, of teshuvah. And seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, he went to see if perhaps he could find something on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves. So there's an abundance of leaves there, but there's no fruit. It was not the season of figs, but the leaves speak otherwise, okay? So it was not normally the season of figs. So again, looking for the fruit of faith, which is missing. And we know that the fig tree is one of the symbols of Israel, right? In response, Yeshua said to it, "Let no one eat fruit from you ever again." And his Talmudim heard it. Okay, I got my scriptures here. So I'm going to jump to verse 20. I'm not the jumper I once was. I'm going to skip to verse 20. Now in the morning, as they passed by, they saw the fig tree had dried up from the roots. Significant damage. And Shimon Kepha, Simon Peter, remembering, said to him, again, Zachor, he recalled, he said to him, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you cursed has withered away." So Yeshua answered and said to them, to the rest of the Talmudim as well as Kepha, "Have faith in Elohim." Have faith in Elohim. Now, what does that have to do with him cursing a fig tree? Have faith in Elohim. What does that have to do with cursing a fig tree? Now, fig trees near Jerusalem normally begin to get the leaves in March or April, the time of life in the spring, okay? But they do not produce figs until their leaves are all out in June. This tree was an exception in that it was already at Passover, full of leaves. A tree full of leaves is pregnant with hope of deliverance. Normally, it should also have fruit. It was the time of Israel's visitation. It was Aviv, and even though it wasn't the season, it was the time of visitation, and there was no fruit on it. So it represents Israel, okay, and its coming judgment. Now we go back to verses 12 to 14. I mean, between these 2 portions, 12 to 14 and then 20 to 22, they sandwich the scripture which describes the cleansing of the temple. The cleansing of the temple, in which the house of Yah, which was in the midst of the people, was lacking. Again, it was not bearing fruit. It was becoming an abomination, like a whitened sepulcher. We all know that the temple looked beautiful, but it was not filled with those who truly love Yahweh, because they were busy doing this and that in their hearts and in their minds. So I'm looking at two minor prophets here with regards to the figs, and we're going to get some more information. And why am I talking about figs with the beginning? Because this is the beginning fruit. This is because the fruit harvest is way back in the seventh month with the grapes. That's why when Messiah returns, the vat of the grapes, he's crushing the grapes. He's like the Kohen Hagadol. He's the high priest wearing his white outfit as the Kohen Hagadol would be during Yom Kippurim, and he's smashing the grapes. So his white vesture is filled and stained with the blood of the grapes, just like the Kohen Hagadol during Yom Kippurim looked like a butcher with his white outfit, slaughtering the animals and bringing the blood and this and that. So that's another indication of the judge, Mashiach HaShofet. Remember, Yochanan HaMatbil, John the Baptizer, described the Messiah who was to come. His winning fork is in his hand, and the fork represents the judgment that is to come. He is Mashiach HaShofet. He's the judge. That's why he's judging this fig tree, symbolic of the nation. So Hosea chapter 9, verse 10. Hosea chapter 9, verse 10. When I saw your fathers, and these are the bad fathers, they're apostate, they're idolatrous. When I saw your fathers, it was like seeing the early fruit on the fig tree. So again, the fruit was ripe, even though the fathers didn't deserve it. They were apostate. But the early fruit shows the mercy of Elohim, the opportunity to pluck this opportunity and to repent. And I'm going to next look at Nahum chapter 3, verse 12. So again, that was Hosea 9, verse 10. And I'm looking at Nahum 3, verse 12. At your fortresses, or I'm saying all your fortresses are like fig trees with their first ripe fruit. Again, their first ripe fruit. The time of judgment is here. When they're shaken, the figs fall into the mouth of the eater. They fall easily. They're ready to go. And as the eternal Yah warns Israel time after time, says you're going to be planting, you're going to be doing all this stuff, and somebody else is going to eat it. Somebody else is going to be drinking your wine. Somebody else is going to have your wife. All these things are going to happen to you if you insist on foolishness. So again, these are all vivid descriptions of what happens in 70 AD, or the Common Era. Matthew 7, verse 13. Matthew 7, verse 13. That's Messiah speaking. Enter by the narrow gate, because he is the door, right? He is the doorkeeper. He is the one that the sheepfold. Anyone who tries to get in any other way, or a thief, a dishonest person, a heavily leavened individual. For wide is the gate, and broad and inviting is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. They see the tempting way is very appealing to them, and many go in by it, because narrow is the way which leads to life, Chaim, and there are few who will find it. So beware of false prophets who speaks words contrary to mine, Messiah is saying, who come to you in sheep's clothing, and externally they're wearing something that suggests one thing, but internally, where the true self lies and continues to lie, they are ravenous wolves. Not just any kind of wolf, but a ravenous wolf. If you have a well-fed wolf, he's not going to mess with you too much, I don't think. There's not very many attacks on humans by wolves, even though wolves are always the ravenous type. They haven't been fed, so yeah, be a little cautious. The jaw pressure of a wolf is twice that of a German Shepherd. I think it's like 1,500 pounds per square inch. You will know them. You will discern by their fruits. Bad fruits comes early and often. Bad fruit you can have all the time. Bad behavior is like, that's why the world has been so poorly seduced, or successfully seduced, because the evidence of this is everywhere. There's bad fruit all over the place, stinking up the streets. Well, now everyone's kind of at home, right? Look at New York, where I live. Manhattan's not that far from me. I don't see anybody out on the streets here. I'm in Queens, but do you see these camera shots of? Don't look too impressive. City is deserted, a ghost town. You will discern them by the fruits, and this bad fruit, which comes early and often, disqualifies us. It's early fruit, and as Paul says in Galatians 1:6, I'm going to get there in a minute. How soon you've fallen away? How soon? I'm amazed at how soon you've allowed this to happen. And it continues. Messiah continues saying, "Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles?" So here again, you have the grapes and the figs. Again, obedient, you will get the figs and you'll get the grapes. You'll get them both in their proper season. Even so, every good tree bears good fruit. Tov fruit. A tov tree bears tov fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, even as it says in First John. If we have his seed remaining in us, not only will we not sin, but we cannot sin. We cannot put on that mindset of sin and willfully doing bad things. Not a misstep, not something out of character. Oops, sorry about that. But something maliciously, that's completely out of character. When you're saying you're a sinner saved by grace, then you go and do something maliciously, sorry, you're not welcome at my Passover table. You're not. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit. Whoever has been born of Elohim does not sin, for his seed remains in him. And he cannot sin because he has been born. He's already been born of Elohim. That's why we cannot continue to sin, because we have been born of Elohim. There are those people who look at born again and refer to the resurrection as being the born from above. Okay, I got that. But there's also the sense of having been born again. Having the milk of the word, as my friend Michael, who's not feeling well, can pray for him. The milk can only be drunk by a baby out of the womb. When the baby's still in the womb, the baby is fed by the things that the mother eats, whatever, and it's all that stuff. But once the baby is out, he has been born, and then he is drinking the milk. Okay, and then he ultimately needs to be weaned into solid food, the serious, deeper things of Elohim. A lot of people are 50, 60, 70 years old. They're still on the bottle. Why? We need to grow. We need to show ourselves approved, and to grow and mature in him, in his word, in his behavior, and think as he thinks, walk as he walked, do as he does. Nothing less is expected from us. Oh, he's only a human. He's been through a lot. And no, if you truly have been changed, if you truly have been converted, and we use that term carefully within Jewish circles because of all the forced, fake, and evil conversions that were done in the Dark Ages and such. Let's murder Jews unless they convert. Yeah, that's a good gospel track. Repent or die. If not from Elohim, from me. Terrible. Anyway, I'm not going into that discussion today. So, again, he cannot sin because he has already been born of Elohim. He cannot bear bad fruit. Nor can a bad tree, a rebellious and lawless tree, bear good fruit. Now, again, hey, now we're talking our language, right? We can do what we want to do. We can make it up as we go along. We're sinners saved by grace. And of course, grace is unmerited favor. I'm going to get it whether I deserve it or not. And this false gospel. Ooh, a little tickling of the ear. I like that. Tell me more. Tell me mo. Tell me mo. Please don't tell me mo. Okay. A bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. So here, be a good tree. At this new time of the year, you can continue to be a bad tree, or you can Shanah. You can change. You can change and become a good tree and become one who is rooted and grounded and being fed by Yahuwah, who gives the increase. Remember, somebody might plant, somebody might water, but it is Yahuwah who gives the increase. So you could be a new tree today, guys and gals. You can be a new tree. I pray that you already are. I pray that you're telling people to watch this video and give them a little warning, bumpy road ahead. So again, fruit is produce, all right? The very evidence of the works that prove that we are his workmanship, created in Messiah Yeshua for good works, which Elohim prepared beforehand that we should stand and walk in them. That's from Ephesians 2:10. So again, the evidence needs to be there. We need to bear good fruit and be a good little tree, a little sapling that is growing into a mighty oak, because we are his workmanship, created in Messiah, in Mashiach. Mashiach in me, but I in Mashiach. That is the give and take. That is the relationship. That's why the Shabbat is so important, because it's between me and you throughout all your generations, between me and you throughout. If you have a good friend, a best friend, a spouse, and you really get along, and we have that connection, we have that occasion. We remember that first date. Remember we did that. That's between us, man. That is between us. We have that. It is unique. It is irreplaceable. That's a bond that nobody can break. Okay? Created to do good works, created in him to do good works, which Elohim prepared beforehand. So you got works to do, guys and gals. We can't sit around. And even though we might be quarantined, hello, we'll see how long before I climb the walls here. But we're quarantined for right now. But you know what? There's stuff we can do. Look what I'm doing. Do something similar. Like I said, the stuff that I teach, make notes, add to it or subtract from it. You know, I'm not talking about, but my words, you can make it broader, make it your own. Share the word. Share the word. Prove all things, test all things, and adapt it. It's yours. Also, all the true fruit bears the seed of self-replication and continuance. The fruit goes forward. The fruit goes forward. The blessed individual will have children after him. And in fact, in Yeshayahu, even the eunuch will have the truth of Elohim, which are better than sons and daughters, because that is eternity. You know, having the children, grandchildren, etc., a sign of immortality to a certain extent, because your name goes on. So this fruit grows exponentially in the good way that leaven does to the bad way. Leaven puffs up, but the good fruit grows to its maturity, and it is good. It benefits others. So this growth does not need chametz. Does not need chametz. It reminds us that Elohim is the Georgos. And the root for that word is the soil. He's the husbandman. He's the farmer. He's the landowner. He's the original Am Haaretz. He's the original person of the land. He gives the increase. He always gives the increase. He's faithful and just. And he will judge righteously, and he will do right by all who call upon his name. Matthew 24:2. And again, as I mentioned earlier, looking around the temple, how beautiful it is. Do you see all these things? And he says, assuredly, I say to you, not one stone shall be left upon another, and shall not be thrown down. He then warns them of the beginning of sorrows and birth pangs. So again, there's good beginnings to look forward to. There's also the beginnings of the judgment process. And just like the lack of the fig tree and the demonstration of those in the temple that needed to be eliminated and judged physically at that specific time, as well as the future, he warns about the beginning of the sorrows. Sin conceived will eventually give birth to death, the word says. And he speaks to the idolater. Have you not known? Have you not heard? This is Isaiah 40:21. Have you not known? Have you not heard? Has it not been told to you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain, and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. Stretches out the heavens like a curtain, spreads him out like a tabernacle, like a tent to dwell in. What is the promise of Sukkot? That he dwells among his people, that he becomes the sukkah. He's not the sucker. Be careful. He's not the sucker. We can't fool him. We can't play, quote unquote, church. We cannot play the games. We need to be faithful in all that we put our hands to. And chapter 46, verse 10, declaring the end from the beginning. In other words, the winter to the spring. And from ancient times, things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. That is the word of the Most High, the loving, compassionate Elohim. And again, how do we know him? What kind of impact does it have? What kind of beginnings can we anticipate? And we go to Proverbs 1, verse 7, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Yirat, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yirat Yahweh, fear of the eternal Yahweh. Reshit is the beginning. Again, it's the head, it's the place, and it's important too when you think of the resh, the start or the first, and the head. Always the idea. The greatest plans begin with an idea. Begin with an idea. We start with an idea. If we just go as we're making it up, there's some pretty good improvisational people, but still, from their minds to their hands and their musicianship, there's still a connection that starts here. It doesn't have to be planned for long. It could be instantaneous. Well, let me play that A note. Let me play that. Yeah, okay. My hands are not functioning. I'm not like in the next room while I'm playing this piano concerto. But it can still be improvised because it goes straight from the mind to the hands. Yirah, Yahuwah, Bereshit, Da'at. Okay? The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of Da'at, of knowledge. Chachma, wisdom. Musar. Chachma, Musar. Wisdom and discipline. Evelim, the fools. Bazu, they despise. Bazu, they can't tolerate it. You know, the light shines in the darkness. Darkness freaks out, cannot deal with it, cannot overcome it, cannot comprehend it, don't want it. I dwell in darkness, like Gollum dwelling at the root of the mountains. The fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge, but fools. And the word for fool, I've always been curious about this because the word is evil, which means to be perverse. Evil, what English word does that sound like? The evil. So the fool is perverted evil. So anyway, evil is the word for this fool who was a perverted fool, who was dark and demonic. And they despise wisdom and instruction. True knowledge leaves the fool in the dark. Again, the dark cannot comprehend or overcome the light. But if we walk, halakha, the walk begins with the teaching. The walk is how to walk in the way of the eternal Yah, to walk in the way of the Most High. But if we walk in the light as He is in the light, we have fellowship with one another. So that's fellowship with us and Him, but also with each other. It's a created body. We are His body. He is the head. He's the one who is understanding. With each other and with the Logos, the source of all wisdom and understanding. The reverence of the Most High is the beginning of Da'at, of knowledge, of Logos. Such fear is merely the beginning, the starting point, the spark of the initiation of true knowledge. True knowledge. Amen. I got a few more scriptures to share, and I'll be finished with this portion. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 17 to 18. So again, beginnings. It's good to get off on the right foot. How many times have you heard people say that in your life? Let's get off on the right, start off on the right foot. You know, if we don't have our thoughts together, once you wake up, you got to sit for a couple minutes and shake off the cobwebs in the head, right? In the cabeza. We got to think clearly before I put one foot in front of the other. Otherwise, I'm going to, either trip and fall or bump into something not pretty. Okay, so Kifa Echad, 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17. For the time has come that judgment must begin, again, beginnings, the starting point of the Beit Elohim, the house of Yah. And if it first begins with us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of Elohim? And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly, the foolish, the evil, and the sinner appear? Scary, scary scenario. I don't wish this on anybody, believe me. I'm reading Ecclesiastes 3, Kohelet, the preacher, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I'm going to do a little jumping around here. I'm reading verses 1, 2, 11, 14, and 17. I'm jumping around a little bit because it can lead you to a lot of other teachings and such, which I want to stay focused on beginnings and understanding how important it is to get off on the right foot, to seize the day. Carpe diem. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, even as Yitzhak. Remember, he was born at the time of life. That's when the Malach would revisit Avraham and Sarah. And the time to die, Mashiach. Whereas Isaac was rescued at the last moment, Mashiach had to die. Whereas Yitzhak was not killed by his father. His father did not have to take his life. Whereas Ha'av did allow Mashiach to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted. The first fruit of the Aviv, the barley. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Order is beautiful, right? Would you rather have chaos, looting in the streets, or would you rather a nice quiet day? I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. Also, he has put eternity, ha'olam, the eternity, in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that Elohim does from beginning to end, the Alpha, the Omega, the Aleph, the Tav. Okay, under the heavens, mortal man cannot figure out the work of Elohim. He can't. It's not up to him. We need the Ruach, because the Ruach knows and searches the things of Elohim. And that's why we need to have the Ruach Elohim, so that we would be echad with each other and with him, with his knowledge, with his growth, with his love, with his plan. Okay? I know that whatever Elohim does, it shall be forever. So he's put eternity in our hearts, and with the fear of understanding who he is, because again, this is Shlomo, who wrote the Proverbs as well as the Kohelet. It's eternity. Whatever he does, it shall be lasting. It's not temporary. It is forever. It's eternal. It's eternal. And I used to quiz our group. I said, what's the first rule in thermodynamics? That neither matter nor energy can either be created nor destroyed. Okay, rule number 2 is everything degrades. It doesn't get better, like evolving things getting better and better. Well, this is nice, but wait till next week is going to get, So matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It is forever because he made it. That's why the Big Bang and all these other theories, you're still going to need some equipment, some tools to get these things rolling. You're not going to find life, but, you can make a chair, but you're going to need some equipment. You can't bara the created force of ex nihilo, out of nothing. You need the equipment. You need the raw supplies. Okay? But we know that everything that he does is lasting. It's forever. Comes from nothing. It becomes everything. Like our life in him, like the Shanah. The Shanah can just be the same old, or it could be something brand new and exciting and wonderful. Nothing can be added to it, nothing taken from it, just like Torah. Okay? Everything he does is eternal. And that sounds great, doesn't it? Nothing can be added to it, nothing taken from it. Remember, that applies to pretty much everything. Nothing should be added, nothing taken away. Okay? Elohim does it that men should fear before him, and so gain the salvific knowledge, and so be wise, and so be saved. I said in my heart concerning the condition of the sons of men, Elohim tests them. He tests them. He tests us. Will we pass the test of Aviv? Will we test the beginnings? Because judgment begins with us. We have to pass the test. Never mind the drunk in the street or something. Judgment begins with the house. That's what Paul says. It's not for me to be judging the people of the world, but I'm responsible for you. And I'm hearing a lot of bad things, a lot of things that you're boasting about, that you're proud of, but they're foolish. And I'm responsible for you. I'm responsible for you. So we need to pass the test. We need to pass this testing of judgment. Again, I alluded to it earlier, but in Galatians 1, verse 6, I marvel that you are turning away so soon from him who called you. How is that possible? How is that possible? Just like after the Israelites see the wonders of Elohim, the 10 wonders, and then they come to this lake, this body of water. And again, Yam Suf is the sea of reeds. And reeds are what make papyrus scrolls, which need to be fresh water. So my question to you is, Yam Suf, was it the Timsah Lakes that they crossed, or the Red Sea that they crossed? Interesting. They definitely crossed a large body of water. But just like the Kinneret, the Sea of Galilee, which is shaped like a harp, is fresh water. It's a lake, but it's called the sea. So anyway, just a little aside, something to do a little study on your own there. 1 Yochanan, chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. 1 Yochanan, that which was from the beginning, which we have heard, which we have seen with our eyes, which we have looked upon and our hands have handled, concerning the word of life, the Logos. He who was from the beginning, Bereshit, as we saw in his version of the gospel, the very first chapter, first verse. He who was from the beginning, the life was manifested, and we have seen and bear witness and declare to you that eternal life, which was with the Father and was manifested to us, that which we have seen and heard, we declare to you, that you also have fellowship with us. Again, the idea of having fellowship with the brethren, Mishpacha, and also with the eternal Yah and Yeshua, Yahusha, ben Yahweh. So again, and truly our fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, Yeshua HaMashiach. And again, going to Revelation 22:13, Revelation 22:13, which Mashiach says, I am Alpha, I am Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into the city. And again, the narrow way into the city, and the fruit of this tree is essential, the tree of life. For I testify to everyone, verse 18, I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to these things, Elohim will add to him the plagues that are written in the book. And if anyone takes away from the words of this book of prophecy, Elohim will also take away his part from the book of life, from the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. So again, don't add, don't subtract. Keep it as it is. We don't have to embellish it. We don't have to make it better than it is. Some people talk up the gospel. They start throwing in, oh, yeah, I was, I fell off a building and I landed on my feet because the Lord was with me. And, we try to embellish our little stories. And we're not doing him any favor by doing that. We need to speak truth. Don't add to your testimony. Don't take away from the testimony. You have a true testimony before Yahuwah, then it should suffice. Okay? He offers to us a new beginning, even as he sets in motion this year, which has now begun. The Shanah can somehow be a repeat of the same, as well as a change for the better, for the new. Continuous motion involves you in its endless stream. Every Shabbat is a continuous series of actions and involvement in which you can cease useless repetition and begin purposeful life with the eternal Yah. Bereshit, in the beginning. Rosh Hashanah. Shana Tovah. Have a Happy New Year. Happy New Year. We started, and this is the first Sabbath of the month, of the year. And be faithful, love Him, and be grateful to Him. So thank you, Father. So we're going to stop there. That is my first message. I want to give you the opportunity now to take a break. Visit the little boys, the little girls' room. If you must, take a breath, and I will give you some contact information, okay? Our congregation, and again, I don't know why my camera is not super clear here, but it is BethTefilah Messianic Congregation, Inc. That's BETH. Well, you see it on your screen. TEFILAH. There we go. Topics, Shanah tovah, and the Leaven factor. Okay, sounds very impressive. Okay, it's Post Office Box 170384. 170384, and that's Ozone Park, New York, 11417. 11417. Okay, amen. So at this time, we turn to the Devarim. We turn to the 10 words which stand before us. Okay, we turn to Devarim chapter 5. Devarim chapter 5. And Moshe called all Israel and said to them, Shema Yisrael, hear, Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your hearing today, that you may learn them and be careful to observe them. Shomar, do them. Faithful hearers of the word are the doers of the word. The eternal Yah, our Elohim, made a covenant with us at Horeb. The eternal Yah did not make this covenant with our fathers, but with us, those who are here today, all of us who are alive. The eternal Yahweh has talked with you face to face from the mountain, from the midst of the fire. And I stood between the eternal Yah and you at that time to declare to you. Okay, it takes me a second to do this. Not easy. The word of the eternal Yahweh. For you were afraid because of the fire, and you did not go up to the mountain. He said, I am the eternal Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other Elohim before me. You shall not make for yourself the carved image, any likeness of anything that is in the heavens above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them. For I, the eternal your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands to those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the eternal Yahweh, your Elohim, in vain or vanity, for the eternal Yahweh will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vanity. Observe this Shabbat day to keep it holy, as Yahweh your Elohim commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of the eternal Yahweh your Elohim. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your ox, nor your donkey, nor any of your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates, that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. And remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and the eternal Yahweh your Elohim brought you out from there with a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore the eternal Yahweh commanded you to keep the Shabbat day. Honor your father and your mother, as the eternal Yahweh your Elohim has commanded you, that your days may be long, and that it may be well with you in the land which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. You shall not commit murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not cover your neighbor's wife. You shall not desire your neighbor's house, his field, his servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. These words the Yahweh spoke to all the midst of the assembly, in the fire, in the mountain, in the midst of the fire, the cloud, and the thick darkness, with a loud voice, and he added no more. And he wrote them on the 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. It is good. It is good It is good. And I just wanted to also add a time for a prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King, we give you thanks this day, Father. We thank you in the midst of our troubles, not because of our troubles, but in the midst of our troubles, with regards to the health concerns, Abba, that we're not exhibiting lack of faith, but we're trying to be prudent. We're trying to be watchful and not put any sheep in jeopardy who have compromised health concerns. And because of this wonderful tool, we're able to hear this message. And next week, I think we're also going to add a conference call so we can have everyone be able to communicate with us at the same time. So I thank you, Father, for this day. I thank you for your goodness and for your mercies. You're so wonderful. You've created this wonderful opportunity that we have this day to accept the newness and not accept the oldness, the leftovers, the things that were, because now we are those who are and those who will be. And we have a great future ahead of us. But for the now, we need to be our best. We need to study to show ourselves approved. We need to eagerly and with strenuous energy contend for the faith once delivered. Contend for the true faith, Father. Help us to have that little extra moxie, not arrogance, not raising our voices, but in humility, Father. The mixture of pride and humility is an ugly one. It's a confused one. It is one that is unsettled. And as Yaakov says in his first chapter, we cannot, if we are of that mixed mindset, we can expect nothing of you as we pray for wisdom, but we don't do it with faith because we're double-minded. We're a two-headed beast. And I just pray that you help us to overcome the limitations that we might have in our lives and strengthen us, and to acknowledge the fact that you have made us and renewed us in this new season, Abba, that we seek for newness of life, to accept the role as a new creation in Messiah Yeshua, not looking for excuses, but looking for opportunities to shine, Father. And again, we give you thanks. We pray for anyone who's suffering this day, who is ill, or who needs a special touch, whether it's physical, spiritual, psychological, or emotional, or financial, Abba. We just pray for your blessings, Abba. For those who truly seek you, Abba, that you would hear our cry, and we give you thanks this day. We give you praise for all things, B'Shem Yeshua Mishakinu. In the name of Yeshua, our Messiah, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So we're thankful that you're here with us today. And again, if you find this compelling, if you find this challenging, if you find this to be foolish, I pray that it's still challenging you, and that you will prove all things. If you find something that doesn't quite measure up in your estimation, please contact us. We also have our email, milkakkorn@aol.com. And our phone number we have on the banner there. You can see it there, hopefully. And if not, we have it on our other programs. You can see it there too. I'm not going to mention that specifically. So, as I've said before, Hag HaMatzot is the feast of matzah, feast of unleavened breads. And again, the leavening factor has got to kick in now, not on Pesach or the morning of Pesach or the week of Pesach. Now. So if we're not mindful of our position, of our activity, of our being welcome to the table of Yahuwah, and we still are double-minded, we're still got a lot of leaven in us that need to be, let's not wait to the last minute. Let's work on it now. Let's do something about it now. A challenge should always be met, never avoided. So help us. Help yourself. Pray that the eternal Yah will give us the chutzpah to confront these things. So the time to rid ourselves of the leavening factor is now. At the very least, the very latest. As I've been saying in this past couple of weeks, I pray that you've been taking it seriously and beginning this in your life. Get rid of the things in your life, the mindset. We need to be, because we are confronted with the table of Yah on Pesach, and only those who have examined themselves need to proceed any further. You could sit at a Passover table, but once you take of that afikomenos, of that matzah, and drink of that cup, you're drinking destruction. You're drinking poison, unless you do it with the right attitude, with the right mindset, with the right understanding. We don't do anything without explanation. And that's why, with regards to Hebraic roots and Hebraic culture, if it doesn't measure up, I have nothing to do with it. A lot of stuff, past few years, I've been shedding. I've been getting rid of. I haven't been doing as I had been doing. I'm still learning. And I pray that you are too. And I pray that we can learn from each other and make advance and be faithful to each other and continue to work together. I thank you for still listening. And I pray again that you would tell others about it. And the second message has begun about 1:40 in the time there. So tune in chapter 18 at 1 hour and 39 minutes, perhaps. 1 hour, 39 minutes. We're now in our second minute of that, 1:41. So that's according to the clock over here. I think it's the same as going to be on the TV or on your phone. So this is subject 2, and this is, again, not contrary or addition. It's really together in the sense of newness, with the sense of moving forward with our lives in a very specific way. Okay, I'm reading from Shemot, Exodus chapter 13. I'm going to read the first 10 verses. Actually, I'm just going to make a generalization here. I'm not going to read all the verses. Then the Eternal Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, consecrate to me all the firstborn. Kadesh li chal bechor. Okay? Consecrate. We have Kadesh, which is holy. Okay? So we make holy to him all the firstborn. Whatever opens the womb among the Bnei Israel, both of man and beast, it is mine. And Moshe said to the people, remember this day in which you went out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand, bechozek, yad, the mighty hand, for the strength of hand, the mighty hand, Yahuwah brought you out of this place. No chametz, no unleavened anything shall be eaten. Chametz. And chametz, the root of the word for chametz or leaven is to be pungent. Also, besides being unleavened, and I don't think it's a contrary definition, but it's a fuller definition. Cruel and extortion come from chametz. So chametz, I'm going to try to show you by this teaching, is much more than just getting rid of breadcrumbs. It's much more than just tossing leftovers in the garbage, or putting your cereal in the cupboard, or taking it out of the house into the hallway somewhere. It's much more bedekat chametz, getting rid of the leaven. But chametz shall not be eaten, or consumed, or internalized. On this day you are going out in the month of Aviv. Numbers 33:3. Again, I mentioned this in the last portion. They departed from Ramesses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month, the day after the Pesach. The Bnei Israel went out with boldness in the sight of all the Egyptians. Okay, the first day of unleavened breads, the first day of matzot. So we can make the short version of unleavened breads matzot. Matzot. That's what unleavened bread is. Matzot. Matzah, but plural, matzot, because it is the feast of unleavened breads, plural. Okay? And we being many are one in Mashiach, unleavened as he is. When you look at the board of the matzah, we see that it's flat, there's no leaven in it, but we see uneven bruises, we see piercings, we see stripes. We see reminders of Mashiach in the matzah story, unleavened, without sin, without blemish. Okay, so Aviv 15 is the first day of unleavened breads. Exodus 13, Jumping back, 13, 5 through 10. And it shall be, when Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service, this ceremony, in this month. 7 days you shall eat matzot, bread without yeast. And on the seventh day there shall be a chag ham le Yahuwah. A festival should be no untoward behavior. There should be nothing about you that is leavened. Nor shall chametz be seen among you in all your quarters. So neither a public display nor a private collection of behavioral patterns that are contrary. And again, is this all about yeast? Why the obsession with yeast? It's like a cake factory. I'm obsessed with frosting. I don't want to see any frosting anywhere in these cakes. Okay, easy enough. And again, the sinner, the rapist, the murderer, they can, okay, I'll eat matzah. I'll also, kill my neighbor and have affairs with his wife. Why not? All I have to do is, beware of the yeast monster. It's much bigger picture than that, people. Let's not limit our understanding to something that's simple when it's describing something massive. Okay? And you shall tell your son in that day, saying, this, the removal, the no leaven among you, is done because of what Yahweh had did for me when I came up from Egypt. We are to respond with gratitude for his great salvation and to behave accordingly, right? Because I did this, you're going to behave as I instruct you to behave, okay? It shall be a sign, ot, again, that sign, that signal, to you on your hand, and as a memorial, a reminder between your eyes. So again, between our eyes, to think, to meditate, to focus, to study. And the hand is symbolic of the righteous works produced through the elimination of chametz, cruelty, and extortion. Sounds like a good deal, right? Chametz representing cruelty and extortion. I would think that we'd want to avoid that. But again, we receive grace, which is unmerited favor. It's not something that we earn. It's not something that we do. It's something that just kind of floats magically into our lives. Okay? The elimination of chametz and the righteous works are in faithful response for our deliverance, that Yahuwah's Torah may be in your mouth. And this, again, reminds us of Deuteronomy 30, verse 14. The word is very near you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. Remember, Messiah says in Matthew 12:34, out of the abundance of your heart, your lips will speak, your mouth will speak. So again, the word, the Torah, is in our mouth. We've internalized it. It's near us. It's in our mouth. It's in our heart. It's concealed away. It's not something you wear it somewhere. I'm going to wear a special hat. Just like those at the Vatican on Ash Wednesday. Oh, okay. I could tell you were one of the Pope's boys, Pope's girls. You got the nice little ashes to ashes, dust to dust on your head. Okay, you have your little mark on you, and we know in the days to come there will be a mark given also of the adversary, as well as the seal of Elohim, which is in league with the fact that the Torah is in our mouth. The word is very near you. It is near you, in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. That you may do it. That's why it's in our mouth and in our heart, to facilitate our ability to do it. It's not the hearers of the word that are declared righteous. It's the doers of the word. Okay? And with a strong hand, again, his mighty work of redemption, his work, the hand symbolic of the efforts and the work. With a strong hand, Yahweh has brought you out of Egypt. And that's much more than just Mitzrayim and the physical location, North Africa. It is the earthly, carnal captivity that we all must be delivered from. There's no trace of Egyptian behavior should exist. No evidence of past sinful life should rear its ugly head or be seen. It should be evidential. It should be behavioral. It should be a no-brainer. We leave Egypt, the sin, the chametz, the cruelty and extortion behind us. We have advanced. We are on the road of redemption. Forsaking what's to the left and to the right, I proceed to the higher calling. I move on up. I'm moving on up. And I'm not going to look behind me. Remember the sin. If you put your hand to the plow and you look back, you're not fit for the kingdom. You're not fit for the kingdom. Remember Lot's wife, looking back. We move forward. We press on to the higher calling. And leaving Egypt, we don't want to look back at our slavery. We don't look back at our worldly mess that we left behind us, that Yahweh is willing to clean up for us. Okay? You shall keep this ordinance in its season, at the appointed time, at the moed, from year to year. Okay, so here we have it clearly declared. You shall do this. And then the rebellious might say, or what? Or what? And let's see, Exodus chapter 12, verses 18 to 20. Again, we read this portion before, I believe. In the first month, Aviv, on the 14th day of the month, at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread. You shall eat matzot until the 21st day of the month and evening. For 7 days, no chametz shall be found in your houses, since whoever eats chametz, that same person shall be cut off from the Adat Yisrael, the community of Israel, whether he is a stranger or a native of the land. You'll be cut off, plain and simple. Now, again, to eat the Passover lamb, one need to be circumcised, but not so for the matzah, not so to keep the Passover, but to eat of the lamb, one needed to be circumcised, okay? So what did Messiah say in 4:34 of Yochanan, as far as our food is concerned? He says, my food is to do the will of my Father who sent me and to finish his work. We got work to do, and we can't be dragging along chametz. We can't be dragging along foolishness and self-deception and criminal behavior, because the law has been given, Torah has been given. If we break Torah, what does that make? It makes us criminals. It makes us at large. We're criminals at large. We're fugitives from justice. And we are putting ourselves out there so that we might be cut off. Okay. And again, Exodus 12, verse 41 and 42. And it came to pass, Exodus 12, 41, 42, okay? And it came to pass at the end of 430 years, on that very same day, it came to pass that all the armies of Yahuwah, the armies that Tzvaot, the terrestrial armies of Yahuwah, as opposed to Yahuwah Tzvaot, the Lord of the celestial hosts, the armies. So that's what the Tzvaot means. It means the armies, the reinforcements, the cavalry, I should say, not cavalry. Okay, so we have the earthly, terrestrial armies of Yahuwah, which are not armed with weaponry, carnal weaponry, but spiritual weaponry to pull down strongholds. And then we have the celestial hosts. Okay, that the armies of Yahuwah went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night of solemn observance to Yahuwah. Okay, Leil Shimurim, a night of vigils to Yahuwah. A night of vigils, the night of departure is a night. The first day of unleavened bread is a Shabbat, and in the evening it takes on a solemn remembrance, a solemn observance. because it is a day of departure. It is a day of departure for the children of Israel. It is a day of departure of Mashiach's earthly ministry when he died and was buried on that same day in the evening, by the evening. Okay? Observe to Yahweh for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is the night of Yahweh, a solemn observance for all the Bnei Israel, children of Israel throughout their generations. Okay? So that's something that if you are a part of the Bnei Israel, you should be doing this. This is something we should be doing. And again, I'm not saying if you're a Jew or not, or a Jewess. I'm not saying that. The Jewish people are one of 12 tribes. And the northern kingdom was sifted through the nations. So we have a lot of people from a lot of different genetic composition through the nations, sifting through the nations, like that game where the ball goes down and bounces around and then falls into a slot. Sifting through the nations. That's who Israel is. And whether your name could be anything, your complexion could be anything. Most likely it's olive complected, but it'll be darker, it'll be lighter as well. I'm going to Yeshayahu Hanavi, chapter 59, Isaiah 59. And here's, again, the eternal Yahweh declaring who he is. Behold, the hand of Yahweh is not shortened that it cannot save. He saves with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Been proven, right? Nor his ears heavy that it cannot hear. But your iniquities, those who are lawless, who are in real danger of being cut off and left behind, they've separated you from your Elohim. But your iniquities have separated you from your Elohim, threatening to cut you off completely, have created separation. And your sins, your lawless actions, which grow like chametz, to affect your entire life, your family, your community. It's a contagion from which we need to be quarantined and to overcome, to come up with that panacea, that drug that will cure us. Now they're saying that there's a drug that cured malaria years ago, could very well be what could be needed, because there's a section of Africa which have been routinely treated for malaria, and this disease doesn't seem to be present there. So there's some hope. They're still doing, but we need to pray for the world leaders, as we're told to do, and that includes the medical community, and to make discoveries and to help overcome, so that some of these elderly and some of these people who are suffering can be cured. I always pray for the individuals. We know that the nations are going to be crushed, and but we pray for the individuals. There's a lot of honorable people who just, go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, have dinner with their families, say their blessings and their prayers, and they want to be honorable people, honorable people. They don't have the full gospel present to them because of our cowardice, maybe, or our laziness, but they're basically good people, basically honorable people, doing what they need to be doing to survive, not trying to rip each other off, but just being honorable. But this lawlessness separates us from Elohim, and your sins, your lawless action, growing like chametz, can affecting everything. Okay? Having hidden his face from you, and again, panim, his face is also his presence. His presence. Hidden his presence, his face from you, so that he will not hear. Obviously, he can hear. Read Psalm 139. He's pretty impressive, Elohim. He's pretty impressive. Psalm 139. If I ascend to the heavens, you are there. If I go to the depths, you're there also. If I'm in bright light, of course, you're there. You dwell in unapproachable light. But also in the darkness. The darkness is like light to you. It's no hardship to overcome. You've created darkness as well as light. People forget about that. They think in the beginning everything was dark, and all of a sudden, click, click, so you just turn on the light. No, there was no darkness, there was no light, there was nothing. There was a void. Nothing. You know what a void looks like? Nothing. It's nothing. Even white, a blank sheet of paper, is something. But without Yahweh, without Elohim, there is nothing, a complete void of anything. So he will not hear. He's hidden his face from us because of our sins, our lawless deeds, our chametz in our lives, because we figure, well, I'm a sinner saved by grace. Oh, I have unmerited favor. It's okay to sin. It's okay. Well, we're all going to sin. Just like when you enter into a plaza where people are assembled, it says, who lies? And everyone's going to say, yeah, I lie. Everyone's going to say, I lie. Do you say, oh, yeah, I lied? Do you say that? Come on now. Not only because it's one of the 10 commandments, but why would you lie? Why would you lie? Messiah is the way, the truth, and the life. We're to follow him. And I'm not talking about brutal honesty, which we pat ourselves in the back with. Oh, yeah, I told that old lady she looked like a fool with her little makeup and her little outfit and the way that she sings. I told her. I was being very honest with her. No, you're being a jerk. No. But honesty, true honesty. We need to be honest with each other. We need to be honest with each other. Yes, we can, oh, that was really good chicken last night, hon. Is it better to say, wow, that was real drech. That was disgusting. I never tasted anything so rancid before. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. I'm so honest. Oh, I dislocated my shoulder from patting myself on the back. I'm a good man. No, you're a jerk. Again, a lot of people need to stop being jerks. Let me just stop here for a second. Stop being a jerk. A lot of people say, oh, people treat me this way, they treat me that way. Well, okay, where do you rate on the jerk factor? Are you acting like a knucklehead, or are you trying your best, walking with integrity, and seeking to please your heavenly creator? Anyway, back to the study. I don't mean to lecture. I will not hear. I don't know you. Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. Lawlessness. And Torah fights against the chametz. Truth, wisdom. For your hands are defiled with blood. And we see in the chapter 1 of Yeshayahu, Isaiah, where we see all these people again. They're blood on their hands, but they're keeping their feast days. They're enjoying their little celebrations. I'm a good person. I'm a good person. And forget it. I hate your gatherings. I hate your feast days. I hate your Sabbaths. If this is what you think, this is not what I created them to be. What you're doing is abomination, because you've got blood on your hands. Your conscience is not clear. Again, between your eyes and your hands, the works and the process of the thinking, the thought, inspiring the hands to do the work. It's to hear and to do. So anyway, your hands are defiled with blood, dam, and your fingers with iniquity. Here we see the parallelisms that appear in Isaiah, and sometimes very evidently. So here we see a parallelism. For your hands are defiled with blood, your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies, your tongue has muttered perversity. Okay, many believers believe that he's speaking about believers. And he's speaking to those who are teetering, who are bankrupt in their soul, and who need a nudge to get with it. So this should not be speaking to you. He should not be saying, our sins have separated us from him. He should not be saying that. He should be saying, oh, that's Larry, or that's Cynthia. I know the sound. That whole thing about the sheep and the shepherd knowing the hear, knowing the voice. Yeah, that's Cynthia. I know that. And she's speaking clearly, and I hear her, and I'm running to help her in her situation. And then he continues to say, Yeshayahu, Isaiah, no one calls for justice, nor does anyone plead for truth. They trust in empty words and speak lies. They conceive evil and bring forth iniquity. So who does this speak of? Oh, that speaks of me. I'm just no good. I'm just no good. Well, if this speaks of you, I hope not, because this is rebellious, leavening members of the community, which threaten society at large. The world will be praying that we keep these villains in our synagogues and churches and congregations. Please do us a favor, keep them there, because we have enough murderers and rapists out here. We don't need these malicious people who think that they're serving your eternal Elohim, your God, by their malicious behavior. Because the sinner saved by grace. We've been given a pass in life, carte blanche. Whoa, look what I can do and still hold on to my salvation. I got my little personal savior in my pocket, and I'm ready to go. It's Friday night. Let's go nuts. Tomorrow morning, I will be leading worship. I will be playing instruments, and I will be singing with my heart and with my eyes closed, and such a sweet voice. But tonight, tonight I got carte blanche. I could do whatever the hell I want to do, basically. Terrible, terrible, terrible. So this mentality is the coronavirus on steroids. It's polluting. This false gospel is affecting generations of people that have thought that they've been given to be liberty. Don't let your liberty in Messiah as an occasion for the flesh. Licentiousness creeps in and perverts grace. Please, people. I'm not asking you to split the atom or to reinvent the wheel. I'm just saying, let's behave ourselves. Get the chametz out of our lives. Get the cruelty. Get the foolishness. Let's not be evil. Let's not be evil with our foolishness. So we need to be quarantined and isolated from evil. His hand is not shortened that it cannot save, but can our rebellious behavior force his righteousness and just hand so that he will not save? So we can't con the eternal Yahweh. We cannot con him. John, Yochanan, the Gospel of Yochanan, chapter 5, verse 14. Chapter 5, verse 14 of Yochanan. Hine, behold, see, you have been made well. You've been de-leavened. There's no chametz remaining in you. Sin no more, lest the worst thing come upon you, and you receive a full-blown condition. You're showing some evidence. You're showing some of the symptoms of this illness, but you're now healed, and make sure that you act appropriately. Otherwise, you're going to get a full-blown case, and you will not survive it. Proverbs 28, verse 18. Proverbs 28, verse 18. Whoever walks blamelessly will be saved, but he who is perverse in his ways will suddenly fall. So the evil in his ways will suddenly fall. They'll think that everything is going along, and that fall is suddenly. It's not like they would, I better hold on to something, like somebody just had a little bit too much to drink. Got to hold on to something. I'm not too steady. No, this is when you're walking in your confidence, your false security, blanket draped over your shoulders, and your way will suddenly fall, and it'll be a complete collapse. It's like the stock market. Wow. Anyway, 1 John, I'm into Yochanan Echad. 1 John chapter 3. 1 John chapter 3, 4 through 6. And you say, you read that last week. Or a lot of these verses, there are some verses I will say from week to week, because we need to repeat sometimes. Like Shanah, it's a repetition. Sometimes repetitions are good. That's how the little kids learn their ABCs. That's how we learn our ABCs. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Het, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Ben, Mem, Tzayin, go and so forth. Just count all the letters and do well to memorize them and come forward. Whoever commits sin also commits lawlessness, and sin is lawlessness. And you know that he was manifested to take away sins. Take away our sins, our personal chametz, which we hold on to. I'm a hoagie. I'm a big Italian bread filled with pork and all kinds of trafe. I got a sandwich and a half right here. Okay? And you know that I wonder who he is. Mashiach was manifested to take away, to bear, get rid of the chametz. And in him there was no chametz, there's no sin. Whoever abides in him does not sin. Whoever sins has neither seen him nor known him. Do you know him? Do you know him? And before you say, yeah, I'm a sinner, think of these words. Think of these words. They are here for your benefit. They're here for you to understand and commit to memory, commit to your heart, to your soul. Whoever sins has neither seen him nor known him. Has neither seen him nor has he ever known him. Whoever continues to sin, to have sin as a way of life, a way of conduct, a way, the standard operating procedures, that's how I roll. I'm a sinner. We're all sinners, again, you go into a crowd and you say, do you lie? Do you sin? Oh yeah, I guess I do. Well, guess what? You can accept Jesus, you can still sin, but he'll forgive you now for any sin that you will commit in the future. Wow. Okay, you mean all I have to do is do a little prayer? Yeah, just a little prayer. And he will forgive you. And there's nothing you can do in the future that'll make him love you any more or any less. And all you have to do is repeat after me. I always hated that, because how could you have a sincere prayer when you're doing a follow after me? Simon says, lift up your right hand. Simon says, wave. Now put your arm down. Didn't say Simon says. You're out. Oh, but I'm forgiven, so I can go right back up. I don't have to move. I can keep my position. So guess what, guys, gals? We have to do better in our understanding. We have to do better in our understanding and our comprehension. Whoever sins has neither seen him nor known him. That's pretty convicting, right? Verse 9, whoever has been born of Elohim does not sin, for his seed remains in him. Remember I spoke earlier about the fruit. The good fruit is self-replicating. It's a continuance there. It's so perfectly created. And there's some of you who are going to know where I'm going with this. Like a horse will see an apple on the ground, eat it, and guess what? He'll digest that wonderful apple, and the seeds. And when he goes, all of a sudden, plop, fertilizer with seeds hit the ground. And there's the continuance. You don't have to dig a hole. You don't have to, how do these apple trees grow without man planting these trees? The natural way to do it is the seeds do not break down in the digestive tract of these herbivores, and it goes right through them and is delivered on the spot. Isn't that beautiful? Well, it is beautiful. It's a wonderful process. They don't have little bidets or portable little flushable things, but it hits the ground and it's ready to replicate into another tree. So that's the fruit. It's replicating. It is capable of moving forward. And that, again, is one of the words that Shanah is implying, that there's a newness. There's a great opportunity for further growth, not just now, but it will continue to produce. You've set in order a perfect pattern, just like Shabbat. It's been set in order to present a perfect pattern that just continues, going higher and higher and farther, not even along a level ground, but going higher. Okay? For seed remains in him. So if we've been born of Yahuwah, his seed remains in us, his righteous seed, and we cannot sin because we have been born of Elohim. And I go to chapter 5, verses 2. It says, by this we know that we love the B'nai Elohim, the children of Elohim, when we love Elohim and keep his commandments, okay? So the two great commandments is love him, love neighbor as self. These are the two on which all the Torah hangs. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim, and we will love him. We keep his commandments. For this is love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. And whoever has been born of Elohim overcomes the world. And this is the victory that has overcome the world, our faith. So our faith is like the mustard seed that grows and overcomes the world. All right? It overcomes the world. So his Torah tot, his commandments, his mitzvot, are not a burden to us. They're a liberty for us because they teach us the proper way, and so on. Eating, get your elbows off the table. Okay. You don't want to go on your first date with somebody and you're glomming food up. You want to use a napkin? No, I'm good. You might want to learn a few manners before you do this again with another nice young lady. You want to show her that you are a person of dignity and manners. And wow, there are very few manners in this world left. And this is the victory that has overcome the world, our faith. Who is he who overcomes the world? Okay, a little rhetorical question. Time for rhetorical questions. But he who believes that Yeshua is Ben Elohim, is the son of Elohim. There we go. It's all out there for you. Why don't we see this? Why don't we see this? It's not hidden in some ancient Greek manuscript that doesn't. We've just discovered this. We've just discovered this late manuscript, and it says things. It's going to make a lot of people nervous. A lot of people who were talking about little personal saviors and sinners saved by grace, and grace is given to anyone, anytime, anywhere, for whatever reason, and it's not binding. Okay, for those who believe that unleavened breads are to be taken only at face value, and Yah is only concerned that you don't add yeast to your baking goods, and that for only 1 week in a year, and is willing to destroy you if you fail to do this, I believe that you're sadly mistaken, my friends. It's much deeper than that. Much deeper than that. And Shaul describes what leaven represents. Chametz is bad, like a gangrenous limb in need of immediate amputation, lest the whole body, the whole community be forfeit. So must we purge the evil from among us. Matthew 5:30 reminds us that if our hand offends us, cut it off. If your eye offends you, pluck it out, because it's better to enter the kingdom maimed than to have your whole body intact and be destroyed in the fires of judgment. Okay, now one person in history or to remember as a good lesson is Achan, better known as Achan. Okay, because he was Achan. He was cruising for a bruising, and he was Achan for a shaking. Okay. Now after successfully destroying Jericho as first fruits to Yahuwah, because remember that was go in and take the land. The first step is Jericho. Okay. As first fruits to Yahuwah of their victories, first crossing the Jordan, Israel was commanded to take nothing but to destroy everything. This takes place directly after Pesach, and after 7 days, they were to march around that which was to be completely devoted to Yahuwah. Okay? So it sounds a lot like Pesach followed by the unleavened breads, right? On the 7th day, you surround the kingdom 7 times, and then you shout, right? Joshua chapter 6, verse 18. Okay, and you, by all means, abstain from the accursed things, lest you become accursed. Again, by association. If this is accursed and I want it, I become accursed by it, okay? As opposed to if this is kadosh and I'm evil and I take the kadosh does not make me kadosh. I'm still rancid, but I have something that doesn't belong to me. Okay? When you take the accursed things and make the entire camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. So not only is that going to affect one person, it affects the whole body. It's a foreign agent that needs to be quarantined. When Achan took of the accursed things, the anger of Yahuwah burned against all the children of Israel. One sinner condemns all the community, and they all suffer for this selfish act. Chapter 7, verse 13. Yahuwah says, "Get up, sanctify the people, and say, sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, because thus says Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, there is an accursed thing in your midst, O Israel. You cannot stand before your enemies until you take away the accursed thing from among you. Verse 15. Then it shall be that he who is taken with the accursed thing shall be burned with fire after he is stoned, he and all that he has, because he has transgressed the covenant of Yahweh, and because he has done a disgraceful thing in Israel. So again, the two commandments on which all the Torah lie, respect and love for Yah and his word and his commandments, and our neighbor. We're allowing them to suffer because of our foolish, selfish decision. So they've both broken selfishly with no regard of consequences. No, I'm the sinner saved by grace. I'm forgiven. Verse 21, when I saw, this is Achan being interviewed. Hi, I'm here to interview Mr. Achan, who, in spite of knowing that what he was doing was wrong, went ahead and say, Achan, what was going through your mind at that time? And he says, well, when I saw among the spoils a beautiful Babylonian garment, wow, beautiful sleeves that fit me perfectly, 200 shekels of silver and a wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels, I coveted them and I took them. Okay? So again, even if you could gain the whole world and lose his soul, he came out on the short end of the bargain by far, right? And what does it say? Uve'ar ta hara mikir becha. So you must purge the evil from among you. You must put it away. You must cut it off. Get rid of it. And drastic times require drastic measures. And this same expression is mentioned in Deuteronomy 17, 6 through 7, Deuteronomy 19, 19, 21, 21, 22, 21, and 24, and 24, 7. You must purge the evil from among you. Mikra vebecha. So the word mikra is in there. A mikra kodesh is a holy assembly, is a kadosh assembly. So no, this is a hara mikra. This is an evil assembly of those who think this way that need to be purged away, removed. So the evil must be purged from among the assembly, the holy assembly. But you can have a mikra hara as well of wickedness, wicked assembly. Hakamotse is to be perpetually observed every day, week, month, year. Not just 1 week of the year, and not just for those 7 days. Our bakery has more to be concerned with than a yeast problem. We need to be baking up some good things according to the recipes in Torah, in faithfulness. I'm going to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 5. Okay? And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. But here we go. This is Rav Shaul speaking to this community in Corinth, which was among the famous faithful congregations. Corinth was lacking. They had a certain element there that was always questioning Shaul, always questioning his authority and criticizing and so on and so forth. So let me read from chapter 5. It is actually reported that there is sexual immorality among you, and such sexual immorality as is not even named among the Goyim, among the Gentiles, or among Jericho, for that matter, spiritual Jericho, that a man has his father's wife, and you are puffed up, you're inflated through virtue signaling, you're proud of your perceived tolerance, you're fully leavened, cruel, chametz contamination. I'm sorry, let me say that again. Puffed up, you're inflated through virtue signaling. And you know what that is? You've heard that expression, virtue signaling. In other words, you're defending the perverse, but you're making yourself look like you're a hero by doing so. Yes, I sympathize. I feel your pain. Remember that was Bubba? Bubba said that years ago. I feel your pain. Bubba's not looking too good these days. Okay? So we're puffed up. I'm a virtue signaling because I'm proud of my tolerance for this thing. I'm fully leavened in the process, which is the cruel chametz contamination, of which they are all put at risk because of disapproval of this situation going on. And you're puffed up? Behavior is being committed among you that even the worst heathen of Jericho did not believe in doing. And have not rather mourned? They're proud rather than mourning. And again, that reminded me of Ezekiel chapter 6, verse 4, well, that whole portion there. But verse 4, put a saving mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and cry over all the abominations that are done within the city. So before, this is the man who was given the writing kit in the vision, and the other guys have their destroying weapons. It says, mark these first, those who are mourning over this abominous behavior. And then once you've done that, destroy everybody else. Smash their heads in. Destroy them. They have destroying weapons. That he who has done this deed might be taken away from among you. Purge the evil from among you. Purge away the evil. For I indeed am absent in body, but present in spirit, have already judged, as though I were present. I've already judged him who has done this deed, this Achan, this Achan, who is having relations with his father's wife. In the name of our Adon Yeshua, the Messiah, when you are gathered together, along with my spirit, with the power of our Adon Yeshua HaMashiach, deliver such a one to Satan for the destruction of the flesh, that his spirit may be saved in the day of Adon Yeshua. Okay? Cut off from the community, give him over to whatever he has been drawn to whatever that which has won his heart. Okay? So let him, but when he's affecting the whole community, we got to put a stop to it. Deliver such a one to the adversary. Purge out the evil from among you. So he's equating himself, because he is united with Messiah, in the name of our Adon Yeshua the Messiah, I have already judged this matter, and this is my judgment. So he's not playing, a shy violet here. He is speaking judgment. When you gather together, along with my spirit, with the power of our Adon Yeshua, so with his spirit, even though he's absent from the body, he's present in the spirit, and he has the power of the Lord Yeshua, the Messiah, in that presence. It's pretty impressive, right? Your glorying is not good. Those who practice such things are deserving of death. Not only those who do the same, but also approve of those who practice them. That's from Romans 1:32. So it's not just those who are doing it, but again, those who virtue signal and saying, I can sympathize with you, and you know what? It's okay. It's okay. Just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and do it. Whatever you're drawn to, whatever has won your heart, pursue that path. Okay? Do you not know that a little chametz leavens the whole lump? Therefore purge out the old chametz, the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, since you are truly unleavened, sinless. For indeed Mashiach HaPesach was sacrificed for us. Therefore, let us keep the feast, not with the old leaven, the old unrepentant, unregenerated nature, nor with the chametz of malice and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread, the matzah, of sincerity and truth. So this is plain matzah, sincere or true? Is he talking about, again, is he talking about bakeries and the production of their sellable goods? Make sure that you don't put too much sugar on that cookie. I don't want it to be so sugary, okay? It's sweet enough. You put enough chocolate bits in it. It's okay. We were just talking about baking instructions. So the matzah of sincerity and truth. So unleavened bread, the matzah of sincerity and truth. So is he just speaking? Is matzah sincere or is it true? No. Obviously, these are allegorical and serve as examples and visual aids, the matzah of sincerity and truth. What it represents: no chametz, no sin, no perversity. It is true. That which is emptied of all these things is what remains, which is true. I wrote to you in my epistle not to keep company with sexually immoral people. And again, the word kompanis, which is the word with bread. We don't break bread with the rebellious, or we will be perceived to have been given our approval of their rebellion. Again, going back to Romans 1:32. Yet I certainly did not mean with the sexually immoral people of this world, or with the covetous or extortioners of idolaters, since you would need to go out of the world. But now I have written to you not to keep company. Again, companis, we get the word companion, company. Do not keep break bread with anyone named a brother who is sexually immoral or covetous or an idolater. Ah, that's 3 of the big 10 right there, right? Count them off. Look at the big 10. Those are 3. Adultery, covetousness, and worshiping idols. So obviously they're not commandment keepers. This is not part of the true body of believers, because they are nomios. Remember, we talked about that last week. Anti-law, anti-Torah, antinomian. So again, they're okay because they're sinners saved by grace. They can always go back and say, Yeshua, remember, you died for my sins, past, present, and future. I'm just tapping into that right now, okay? I kind of just did this, so I'm sorry, but until I need you again to forgive me, I just expect you to again forgive me. Thank you, or not even thank you. It's expected of you to do it. It's like a vending machine. There's forgiveness. Here, are you forgiven? 1 act of adultery. Thank you. Okay. Continuing, or a reviler, or a drunkard, or an extortioner, not even to eat with such a person, as I already mentioned. Don't even break bread with them, because, again, you're sitting at a table with them, breaking bread. That's why the table of Yahuwah, we are not to do that. We are not to do that. We are not to invite evil into our midst to break bread with them. It sounds kind of like judgmental, but it is judgmental. It is judgmental. When you go shopping for fresh produce, why don't you take those peaches with those holes and little wear marks, and the eggs? We open up the egg carton to see if there's anything broken. There's a couple broken. So no, I'm not going to take this carton. Oh, I'm prejudiced. I'm prejudging the situation. I should just take these broken eggs anyway and show what a good person I am. Again, the virtue signaling. I'm a good person. So I come home with broken eggs, rotten fruit, and sour milk. Yeah, because it's past its expiration date, but it's still there. So I guess I got to take it because I'm a good person. There's none that is good. No, not one. But those who are with Yehoshua and in Yehoshua and him and them, as we begin this process of salvation, don't eat with such a person. So again, he says, for what have I to do with judging those who are on the outside? Do you not judge those who are on the inside? Those within the body? Also, we are to judge as he does not by the external, but by the internal within, to not be white and sepulchres, right? The crypts, the graves, they're fine and they're whitewashed, they're nice and clean, but inside it's filled with defilement and corruption, and to be defiled and unclean. But those who are outside, Elohim judges. Therefore, put away from yourselves the evil person. Uviarta hara mikir becha. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. No reason for you to hold on to these things. Okay? Romans 5, verse 17. Just got a few more verses to share. For if by one man's offense, who is Adam, but closely followed by the likes of Achan, and fill in the blanks, if by one man's offense, or death reigned through the one, affecting all of humanity, again, that leaven of sin affected everyone, how much more those who receive abundance of grace and of the gift of righteousness will reign in life through the one, Yeshua the Messiah. So he works contrary-wise to the chametz. He works to help us to build us up into the full stature of Mashiach. We grow into him in the grace and knowledge of him, The grace gives us the power to say no to the world, the flesh, and the devil, and to say yes to righteous behavior. Therefore, as though one man's offense judgment came to all men, again that little leaven, resulting in condemnation to the human race, even so, through one man's righteous act, the free gift came to all men, resulting in justification of life. For as by one man's disobedience many were made sinners, so also, and again, by one man's disobedience many were made sinners. This is set in motion, the mindset of sin as being the acceptable way to continue in your life. And many were made sinners by that act, the one act of disobedience. So also by one man's obedience, many will be made righteous. So again, just as everyone was not responsible for being a sinner, so one is not made righteous simply by this offer of Messiah, unless I qualify for this obedience. One man obedient, that's the key word. So also by one man's obedience, disobedience disqualifies and makes you the sinner. You're not a sinner to start with. One man's disobedience, the disobedience is what makes us sinners. One man's obedience, many will be made righteous. We will follow in that pattern as opposed to the other pattern, who walk as he walked, again, the halakha, the way to walk. Moreover, the Torah entered that the offense might abound. So Torah shines its light to expose, define, and categorize sin and to illuminate the path of the righteous. That's the purpose of Torah. But where sin abounded, grace abounded much more, which teaches, the grace teaches us to deny godliness and worldly lusts and to live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present age. That's Titus 2, 11 and 12. Always remember that. Titus 2, 11 and 12. So that as sin reigned in death, having given birth to it, right? Sin leads to death. Even so, grace might reign through righteousness to eternal life through Yeshua the Messiah, our Adonai. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? And again, a resounding yes declares the chametz-filled Kahal Elohim. The fallen, false, doctrinal producing communities will say, yes, I guess, it's when we sin, his grace will abound, because when we're sinners saved by grace. So there you have it. Our little formula is perfect. No. It says, certainly not. Certainly not. How shall we, who died to sin, live any longer in it? Or do you not know that as many of us as were immersed or baptized into Messiah Yeshua were immersed into his death? Therefore, we were buried with him through baptism into death. It's like when you say to somebody, Joe passed away, and you're saying, was he sick? And you're saying, how is he dead? And you say, I hope so, because they buried him. Therefore, we were buried with him through immersion into death, under the water. We're buried. We're dead and buried to sin. We're dead and we're buried. That just as Messiah was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. Again, the Chadash, the Chodesh, the holiness, and the newness of life is in an unleavened state. No leaven, no chametz, no cruelty, no foolishness. For if we have been united together in the likeness of his death, certainly we also shall be in the likeness of his resurrection. Having this, I'm saying knowing this, that our old man was crucified with him, that the body of sin might be done away with, purged out, like the cruel chametz. The body of sin is done away with, that we should no longer be slaves to sin. For he who has died has been freed from sin. Now if we died with Messiah, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Mashiach, having been raised from the dead, dies no more. Death no longer has dominion over him. For the death that he died, as our Passover lamb, he died to sin once for all, but the life that he lives to Elohim. In other words, to live to Elohim means to live devoted to him. Okay? But the life that he lives devoted to Elohim. Likewise, you also reckon yourselves to be dead indeed to sin. Of course, you're dead to sin, is what he's saying, but alive to Elohim in Messiah Yeshua, our Adonai. So again, we are alive and devoted to him. We should be devoted to him. Therefore, do not let or allow sin to reign in your mortal body, that you should obey it in its lusts. We have a choice. It's up to us to be matzah or a baguette. I know we like the French baguette. Yay. But we have a choice. Matzah is not that attractive, right? It's not very tasty. It's not very delicious. Although you can make nice things with it. You can make a matzah pizza is good. You can butter it up. You can put peanut butter and jelly. You can do all kinds of things with it, okay? So again, we have the choice of a sukkah or a mansion. You know, we have these choices of the simple, the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the wilderness, was not opulent. It wasn't beautiful. So we have a choice. It's up to us to be either matzah or, like I said, a baguette or a hoagie, as I mentioned earlier. And do not present your members as instruments of unrighteousness to sin, but present yourselves to Elohim as being alive from the dead, sinless, dead to sin, and devoted to the eternal. As being alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness to Elohim. So again, we're alive from the dead because when we died to sin. So that's why we were dead, but now we're alive in him, to him, because he's given us life, the true life. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under Torah, but under grace. Uponumon, okay? Grace, as stated earlier, gives us the ability to keep Torah. So it's not an either or. We're not under Torah, but we are under grace. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under Torah, but under grace? Certainly not. Romans 3:31. Do we then make void the Torah through faith? Certainly not. On the contrary, we establish Torah. So under Torah, under the law, can also mean that there is a warrant out for your arrest, that you're a fugitive from justice for breaking the law. So you're under the law. That phrase can also mean that you're a fugitive. If you ask a group of people, and I read this a while ago, this was a good one-page article, and it says you ask the classroom, who's under the law? And everyone raised their hand because, we obey the law, under the law. Now, under the law, in that literal phrase, means that you are under the penalty of the law. You have broken the law, and we are coming after you. Do you not know that to whom you present yourselves slaves to obey, you are that one slaves whom you obey, whether of sin leading to death or of obedience leading to righteousness? But Elohim be thanked that through you, though you were slaves of sin, yet you obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine to which you were delivered. So the doctrine is essential. Hold on to it. The faith once delivered. Hold on to the doctrine. And having been set free from sin, you became slaves of righteousness. I speak in human terms because of the weakness of your flesh. And he does this in chapter 7 of Romans. A lot of people look at Romans chapter 7 and they're saying, wow, Paul, he wants to do good things, but he can't. And the things he doesn't want to do, that's the stuff he's doing. No. Look what he's saying here in this chapter before chapter 7, okay? I speak in human terms because of your weakness in the flesh. And this is like a performance art in which he equates himself as being equally helplessly leavened as many in his audience are. It's just like the prophet Ezekiel would be doing all these theatrical things, laying on his side, laying on his other side, doing this, doing that. So when he would show up, people would start to freak out. Here he goes again. And he was basically struck with a mute aphasia, Ezekiel. And generally, the only time he spoke was when he said, "Thus says you." Thus says Yahweh. Yahweh. So watch out when he gets when he clears his throat to speak. Um, so again, the audience in the book of Romans is an arrogant group for the most part. And I don't know if I taught that one yet, but I have a teaching on that about Rome, and as unto Rome, so are we. For just as you presented your members as slaves to uncleanness, and of lawlessness leading to more lawlessness, because that's what it does. The chametz, once you've been contaminated, it just continues to grow. You develop an appetite for it, and it continues to work. Just like those who were serious drug addicts, they had their first fix of heroin, nothing else. Wow. You get hit by that rush and that feeling, and you spend the rest of your life trying to replicate that high. It happened with me, not with heroin, something else. The first time was amazing. And then I would increase dosages. I would increase it. I would go to different places with different, never happened that same intensity. So it's like those people who start their alcohol, their smoking addictions. It's like, wow, what I've been denying myself. This is great. And you keep doing it more, and killing yourself along the way. So, just as you presented your members to slaves to uncleanness and of lawlessness, leading to more lawlessness, it just accelerates, it snowballs. So now you're not doing that. Now you're not foolish and you're not weak. Now you are to present your members as slaves of righteousness for holiness. Again, the right standard leads to holiness, that which is enthusiastic to share the righteous standards and not hoard them selfishly. For when you were slaves of sin, you were free in regard to righteousness. So free from righteousness, you should say, while still being leaven. I'm free from righteousness. What fruit did you have then in the things of which you are now ashamed? For the end or the goal of those things is death. But now, having been set free from sin and having become slaves of Elohim, you have your fruit to holiness. Again, the self-replication of the seeds of the fruit and his seed in us, in which we don't sin. For the wages of sin is death. So you get what you pay for. You've earned it. The wages of sin. You sin, you get your paycheck, and it's death. But the gift of Elohim is eternal life. And that cycle starts, that cycle that gets more and more filled with holiness and beauty and wonder in eternal life in Messiah Yeshua, our Adonai. So purge the evil from among you. Get rid of that leaven. Get rid of that foolish feeling that you're missing something if you don't experiment and try things out and whatever. Don't be foolish. This is the time when we need to be purifying ourselves, walking in the grace and knowledge of our Most High, sovereign Yahuwah, and be faithful. Be faithful. Be strong in Yahuwah. Be strong in the Lord. Be strong in Him. I just read all of these verses. If you didn't write them down later on when this is on the YouTube channel, watch and write down these verses. Write them down. That's why I'm doing this, so that you can have your own format. You can have your own study ready to go. And you can add on to this. This is something you can add or subtract from, because this is your own thing that you can use to share with your family and whoever else needs to hear this. So again, we are thankful for a wonderful Creator for providing for us the things that we need. And what do we need more of than more of Him? So I give Him thanks. I thank you for your patience with us today. Almost 3 hours I've been talking, so I'm going to come up for air. And I thank you for your patience. And I'm praying that we'll all be healthier next week. And if we still can't meet physically, I'm going to have a conference call and have some people on here that can come and literally talk with us. So again, I just want to thank you for your patience. And I pray that you're listening and you're watching and you're accumulating these episodes. And as I said, starting last week, I started listing the topics. So I'm going to see if I can go back and mention the topics within each of the previous episodes, because each week we are essentially saying, remember to to guard the Shabbat day as holy, but specific topics, subtopics, we need to make more uh, readily available. So again, we thank you. I thank you so much for being with us. And again, we come to the congregational response after Torah reading. This is Torah. This is Torah which Moshe placed before the children of Israel, Bnei Israel. It is in accord with the eternal Yahweh's command by the hand of Moshe. Together, a tree of life, it is for those who take hold of it. Blessed are the ones who support it. Its ways are ways of pleasantness. All its paths are peace. Long life is in its right hand, and its left are riches and honor. The Eternal was pleased for the sake of his righteousness to render the Torah great and glorious. Amen. When the ark rested, Moshe would say, return, O eternal Yah, to the myriads of Israel's families. Arise, O eternal Yah, to your resting place, you and your mighty ark. Clothe your priests, your Kohanim, your Zedek Kohanim, with righteousness. May those who have experienced your faithful love shout for joy. Amen. For the sake of your servant David, don't delay the return of your Mashiach. I give you good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah. Amen. 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 Thank you. Thank you, Father. We are grateful. We are grateful. And in the midst of the circumstances that we find ourselves, and face it, right now we're being tested. We are in a position of a threat in our community. So we need to take steps to avoid this thing, and ultimately to defeat it and to not succumb to it. And again, if you're feeling a little not so good, get yourself tested. It's not working against the eternal to recognize and identify your malady. Like I had to identify my ailments, my MS and my AFib are both realities. I can say they do not exist. I refuse to acknowledge them. That's of the devil. Okay. But, I'm still with this condition as conditions, but I'm trusting Yahweh. I'm trusting him. I love him. And he's kept me alert and awake and researching. And again, I thank him that I'm teachable, that I'm learning from Mishpacha, I'm learning from the brethren, and I'm thankful that Yahweh has me where I am. So again, I thank you for listening to us today, and we pray that all would be well with you this day, and that you keep strong, and read a little bit more, watch a little more. Hey, you got 17 other programs to watch from start to finish. Don't say I didn't give you anything to keep you entertained. Okay, so we come to the conclusion. May the eternal Yahweh bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace, the perfect peace that surpasses our understanding, to guard our hearts and our minds in Mashiach Yeshua. Amen.
Amen.
Yivarechecha Yahuwah vayishmerecha. Yair Yahuwah panav elecha vechunecha. Yisab Yahuwah panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And let us play our closing song. And Shanah tovah. Happy New Year.
Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace. And give you peace. And give you peace. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. And be gracious. The Lord be gracious. gracious
Amen, amen. Now the picture looks clear. So I don't know what I did. I don't know. Okay. And I'm sorry you had to listen to me talk for almost 3 hours without really seeing me in all my splendor here. You had to deal with a little bit of a foggy version of me. But I guess things work themselves out. So again, Toda Rabah, I thank you so much for listening and checking in with us. And again, keep the faith. Keep the faith. Be unleavened. Don't wait for another week or so to be leavened, unleavened. Do it now. Do it now. And go back and make the references and be strong, be faithful, and be kadosh, be holy, because he is kadosh. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Did you see?